up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. Yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. Hey, it's too late to try to go contain it. A generation fueled by creation. We live lives on a small screen nation. We control the airwaves, no negotiation. I refuse to think we need saving. Something good will come from creation. And when we think that the world is too anxious, we'll adapt, evolve, survive, and save it. What keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. What keeps you up at night, yeah. Make all the demons quiet, yeah. We were built to thrive, yeah. I think that we've all had enough. Yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. Hey, oh yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong. You got me like, oh yeah, I think that we've all had enough. Sick of dealing with the old plan. They know that we're calling it wrong.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Sovereign Soul, Unchained Mind. I, of course, am Sovereign Soul, or you can call me Dave, or you don't even have to call me. We've got a really special show tonight. It should be really good. We're going to be delving into some of the more interesting topics. I have a very special guest tonight, as we've been given the key to room 237, and we are going to take off into some really interesting topics, the Mandela effect, 9/11, and other things. I'd like to welcome to my panel tonight, Brian Staveley of Dose of Reality. How are you tonight, Mr. Staveley?
I'm fantastic, man. How are you?
I'm just doing better than you could ever imagine. This is really good. I've been watching your show now for a little bit, and it's pointed me to more of these Mandela effects. I've seen a little bit of your stuff on 9/11. I kind of wanted to start with that. Would that be a good topic?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Just to kind of introduce for some of you youngsters, I never thought that I'd be saying this kind of a thing, but in case you didn't know, our nation was supposedly attacked on September 11th, 2001 by Islamic extremists who had hijacked airplanes in a never have been thought of before scenario, and use them as missiles to attack us on sovereign land, thus opening the doorway to endless war in the Middle East. So from there, Brian, what do you think happened on that day? Where do we go with this?
Well, I mean, I guess I'll probably just start at the beginning. So first off, where I think we went, what happened on that day is you're going to find is actually contradictory to probably 90% of even the truth community. And it's been the things I've been presenting for years since 2010 have been very taboo. But now after what we've seen in the last 3 years, I think people should be able to reflect back and have a look at some things. So I was a total normie. Till I had a moment, there were some things I never bought into. I never bought into politics. I never bought into religion, like not at all. I have no history with any of them at all. Okay. But I did believe the news and all that type of shit, So just at one point in 2010, I decided I wanted to watch a 9/11 movie. Now, this movie was on Netflix. And it is there to send you down a rabbit trail that's a diversion and not to take you to the ultimate truth, okay? But we all go through these gatekeeping type of things in our journey. And, they're always very key. Even we'll get to things like Alex Jones and stuff like that. We've all gone through that, and that's coming up shortly. So I watched this movie. It was called World Trade Center. It had Nicolas Cage and whoever else in it. And the story in the movie was about bombs going off in the basement and the firefighters being trapped, and the bombs going off. They were trapped in the elevator, and then the plane supposedly hit the building, which of course isn't the official story. The official story was there were no bombs going off. The planes hit the building, and that's what caused the buildings to collapse. And it was this whole dramatic thing about the firefighters trying to escape from underneath the rubble and all this shit. Very emotional thing. But that movie's pushing that almost that entire narrative that I just spoke of. Even the part about the bombs in the basement, the firefighters being trapped and all that. That's another false narrative as well. So that made me just go jump in, that started my awakening process right there. And I soaked up everything I could about 9/11 independently, though, not like through the mainstream. But of course, I came into people quite quickly, like Alex Jones and other gatekeepers early on. And I kind of saw through that within like 4 or 5 months, maybe 6 months. And I'll get into the reasons why. With 9/11, there's different levels of gatekeeping. And people need to realize this, like, these things are planned out so fucking far in advance and so intricately. Like 9/11 and what's been going on the last 3 years was a gigantically well planned out, well thought out psyops. And when they do them, they know where people's mindset is going to be. So when they do the moon landing, which we'll get to shortly, after 9/11, that was my next thing. But when they do these psyops on people, they don't think 100% of the people are going to buy it. Okay. They might think 70%, and 70% is good enough. And then the 30% that might have a second thought and go look somewhere else, they got stuff for you too.
Brian, it's like this too. I was looking back at my initial reaction, and there again, being a normie at the time, believing not all the news, but only some of it, because it fit what, I was into, like those Fox is the real news and CNN is the lie, and there's the thing. They're both lies. They're just two extremes of the same thing. But anyway, in that whole mindset, my mind didn't take into the logical sense of the idea of a jetliner doing that kind of damage to the building. The whole physics of that didn't, because it was obfuscated by the horrific collapse and everything that they placed around that, that there was a great feeling of emotion that took place.
The emotion.
Yeah.
I mean, they showed Flight 175 smashing into the South Tower over and over and over and over and over and over.
But it was like I never took into account the impossible physics involved there. I don't know if you caught the one the pictures that goes through in my intro, but I've got a picture of stages of that aircraft, and it's like going in like hot, it totally just looks like two images being merged together rather than an actual collision of physical objects. And then, so that was the kind of shit that started to wake me up to it, And then, of course, like you were saying, I fell down various rabbit holes, Alex Jones. I found some of Judy Wood's work to be very compelling as well, But there again, these people, when they start getting, like
Judy Wood's a gatekeeper, and I'll get to that because I've had run-ins with her, and we'll get to that. But
okay, I'm interested. Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm you see how much I talk about the Mandela effect now. Well, I was that deep into 9/11, even deeper. So we're gonna really get into some things here. But so here's the thing. What the truth movement, what happened on 9/11, the truth movement was played more than they've ever been played before. And they all became agents of the system. Mm-hmm. What do I mean by that? I mean, they were all propelled into pushing so much fear and all these different rabbit trails that all turned out to be fucking complete bullshit. Okay. So you're talking about the plane. Now we're gonna get right into the planes, because this is the most important part of 9/11, really. And honestly, this is like I call this aspect of 9/11 almost like a second awakening point for people. Like, this is as big as the flat earth or the Mandela effect or anything else once you realize what you're looking at here. Okay. First off, before we even look at the imagery of the planes, the idea, for the people that don't know, okay, real quick, let's give them the official story. The official story is they hijacked 4 commercial airliners from 4 different locations with fucking box cutters and like 4 people per plane. And 1 plane hit the Pentagon, 1 plane landed in a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and 2 planes hit the towers, 1 on each tower, these gigantic 110-story towers in New York City. And then eventually an hour and a half later, each of them collapsed into a fucking pile of rubble. So that's the official story, okay? But the ridiculousness of the airplanes, first off, untrained pilots, and that's a joke too, because they're not going to investigate themselves, you know.
99 cents at the thrift store, bro.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, the government's going to investigate themselves, and it's going to be legit. I love it. So untrained pilots just hopping in and flying these commercial airliners allegedly. But not only that, when you're flying into New York City, these things are at sea level doing 500 miles an hour, complete bullshit. Nobody would be able to do that. Okay.
Right.
And then on top of it,
I've tried to explain that the air's too thick, isn't it?
way too thick. It would just rip them apart. There's no way they could do it at that speed. And then on top of it, again, before we even get into how ridiculous the imagery is, the idea that 50 people and this was right before your cameras had cell phones on them. Okay. So 50 people, your cell phones had video cameras. It was right before then, right? So 50 people, this wasn't when everybody had a video camera. We're supposed to believe that 50 people caught this off-course, unexpected jet doing 500 miles an hour through the most crowded skyline in the entire country. Okay?
Right.
Now that is fucking absurd. And then when you start to look into the supposed evidence, there is no evidence of any commercial aircraft crashes anywhere around the towers or anything like that. All there was a planted engine from a single engine plane on a street corner of Church and Murray underneath some scaffolding. Supposedly they're telling you it fell fucking like 90 stories, doesn't even put a fucking pothole in the street. Okay. Right. So it's absolutely fucking absurd. And then when you start to look into the imagery, like you just had some up there, there's so many different, first of all, trajectories of the plane. Now, there's so many times the plane goes into the tower. That's like Nintendo 64 graphics.
Yep.
It's not real video. Everything's real blocky looking. And you'll notice in all the videos where they supposedly show a plane, it's like towers lack detail. There's no windows, like there's no glass. And then we'll get deeper into that after. But then when you start to look at the plane, it's getting swallowed by the building without parts of it breaking off. There's other videos where sections of the planes are missing. It's different colors and other ones. But then the one thing that's the most important is on many of them, the trajectory doesn't even match. There's actually videos where Flight 175 comes in, it comes up. Most of them, it's like this. One's really steep like this. Some are just straight in. There's one that actually comes in and goes up. They're not even consistent. And then when you start to go through the video, you can also realize that some of the same videos were cropped 3 different ways, accredited to 3 different videographers that are supposed amateurs on the street, and it's all just the same exact manipulated imagery. So before we go into
Brian, there was another thing I saw where they showed like everybody was getting the same video footage from a helicopter, right? Mm-hmm. And they were feeding it through all the different news agencies around the world, I guess. And the only one that didn't have a plane in it was the one that the Iranians were showing. It was all the same view, same. It was like somebody forgot to give them the memo to CGI it in or whatever.
Well, no, because all the footage, and here's the thing, all the footage is prefabricated footage cut up to look like newscasts, okay? It's all prefabricated ahead of time and played as live video, slap live banners on it, everybody fucking believes it, right? Now, this is very important because, and there's a reason. So, and we're going to come back to it for a little bit. So anyways, this didn't take me long to get to this point to know that there were no planes on 9/11, okay? In 2010, saying no planes on 9/11, it was damn near taboo, even in the 9/11 truth movement. Like people said, you're just running a CIA psyop, Brian. You're trying to discredit the real research and And here's the thing. I was listening to like Alex Jones for a few months. And by the way, before that, even just like a month into this, I was like, I need to get my voice out there. I'm already doing podcasts, taking phone calls. I got my website up. Like right away, I was doing that. Now I'm listening to this other show, this Alex Jones guy. And, for a few months, it sounds good. But then I started to pick up on, and it's very obvious. I mean, everybody knew he was so against people that would suggest the idea that there were no planes on 9/11 that he would go on these all-out attacks. And so would all the people in his little circle saying how delusional we were, that we're assets of the government, and all this crazy shit. Okay, now why is no plane such a big deal? Oh, remember what I said? It's prefabricated footage that all the media had. So if were no planes on 9/11, but there's planes in the footage, and it's used to mass mind control everybody, the fucking media is completely complicit. It's no longer just, hey, we think the government's in on it. Now everything the media presents is fake, and they don't want all the truthers to know that. They want to still be able to push psyops, and you're going to think it's a false flag when it's really a hoax, right? Down the line with almost everything. Oh, yeah, they lied about the moon, but they really went. Like all these stupid things that fucking people believe. It's all a complete fucking fabrication. So the last thing they want you to do is realize that there were no planes on 9/11, because then you should, like I did, come to the conclusion. This is the thing, Dave. A lot of people here have already heard of no planes, but it goes deeper than no planes. So they faked the moon landing, right? We agree on that, right? Did the fakery with NASA stop there? No, they faked the whole damn thing, right?
Here behind me.
All right. So the fakery doesn't stop with no planes. It gets much deeper than that. They pulled an incomplete tire hoax on us that day. So we're going to get deeper into that. But why it's so important to know that the planes weren't CGI'd in later, or it wasn't holograms those are diversions to protect the media. That's why you'll see these 9/11 shows come out and push that it was holograms in New York City. All right. Fetzer used to try and push this, and I challenged him on it a few times. Got pretty heated, and his argument is completely fucking ridiculous. There's different trajectories, first of all. Now, the reason they would want you to think it, just like with the photos from the moon, I'm going to keep going there, but we haven't got there yet, but everybody gets it. Like, you see that the imagery's fake, but they got another excuse for you to fucking cover up the idea that they really went there, right? So the way that they protect the media, because if you think it's a hologram and it's not CGI, what does that mean? The media didn't put the hologram in the sky. It was some black ops military group, right? Who are you going to blame? Now you're still trusting the media. Why do you need to trust the media? Well, they can't push the fear of 9/11 if you don't trust the media. But if you do trust the media and you think the planes are real, then you think there's 50 fucking witnesses that fucking filmed the thing. Then you believe the credibility of all the street witnesses. But in reality, how about this? Let's just drop it on you right now.
All right.
You walk around the first few months of what was going on in 2020, right? And the most obvious thing is the fucking hospitals are empty.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So think about that, right? Now, that's a worldwide psyop, but you could go to any random city and see that. We've all done it. We don't need to get into it right now. And that's how how can the normies not put this together? I can show you, if you want right now, I can bring up the videos. I can show you clips from the hospitals in New York City on September 11th, 2001, and they're fucking empty. Okay?
I was onto that from day one, man, because I was just looking at the thing, at the rate they were going with the pushing of the fear on this thing, it was almost like I expected a scene out of Monty Python with the guy with the cart going, bring out your dead, and I live in an area, they said it's mostly attacking the elderly. Well, I live in a small town where there's a lot of old people and retired people. The meat whistle goes off often enough as it is. This thing wasn't any different during that time, but everybody was still, like you said, psyoped right into it through that. They were believing what they saw, the allegory of the shadows of the cave. It's that thing. They were looking at what was on TV and not comparing it to reality. And I don't know how people can do that, man.
Yeah, and by the way, the hospital footage is an afterthought. That's not even what had me anywhere near. It's not just like I saw some empty hospitals and said, "Oh, this whole thing's a hoax."
Right.
There's so much more that goes into it, including there's documentation. I mean, there's even a book a guy wrote in 19 98. His name's Eric Darton, talking about the occupancy issues at the towers. How they were down to less than 20%. So these towers were not filled. Now think about this too. The 50 people, you know what you've never seen? Just like you've never seen a video of the Earth spinning from the moon, right? Like, where's that video, right? Where's that video? You've never seen video of the thousands of people streaming out of the World Trade Center on 9/11. You've never seen one video. You've seen street scenes and dust clouds. You've never seen any of the people streaming, but 50 people before the media even got there, in the media capital of the world, by the way.
Yeah.
Four helicopters in the sky. No film of thousands of people streaming out, because it was the one thing that would have been almost damn near impossible to fake to the magnitude that they needed to fake it. Okay. No video of it. 50 amateurs film a 500-mile-an-hour off-course unexpected jet slam into the building, and nobody pans down to the street. Many of them just keep filming the whole time. Nobody pans down to the street. And then when you really start to get into looking into the schematics of the building, I mean, I have images from the buildings from when they were when they were supposed to be after occupied by certain companies like Cantor Fitzgerald and Marsh McLennan, which attributed for half of the alleged deaths in the supposed impact zone. And those floors you could see clear through. They never even fully furnished them. Now, here's the thing. If the buildings weren't fully occupied, if what I'm saying is correct, and I'll offer more evidence to that, like the fact that there's 2,600 missing death records. Yeah. 2,600 of these people aren't even accounted for in the Social Security death index.
See, that's what I found odd too, is that it was like, you know, a human body is hard to dispose of. I mean, it's hard to make a human body disappear. Even through cremation, it still there's fragments of certain bones that have to be pulverized, that kind of thing. And for there to not find like any even parts is what gets me, you know. I'm like, wait a second, you mean everybody just atomized everybody? That's, you know, I found that really strange. You know?
Well, and think about it. So if what I'm saying is true, and so many of these floors were empty, not even fully furnished, and the buildings were never fully occupied, and I will get into where the real occupants were, because there were.
Yeah, Brian, I often ask, you know, I saw the rubble, and those people are walking around through it right afterwards and shit, and it was like, man, where are the desks? Where are the phones? Where are the copy machines? Where are the, you know, the shit cubicles? You know, those panels that make up cubicles. You didn't see any of that shit. It was just all concrete and steel.
Because they were a fucking shell of a building. Now, think about this. That's why somebody like Judy Wood comes in, right? Now, people will use evidence like videos of the supposed steel spire evaporating in the sky.
Yeah, I have
the fucking CGI video put into the newscast, just like the planes, dude. That's how they do that, you know? And then, so here's the story. She wants you to believe that they use a directed energy weapon and evaporated all the evidence. Everything got evaporated in the towers. Okay.
Like this.
Well, I'm gonna tell you the reason there's a lack of debris. The reason there's a lack of debris is because the fucking shit wasn't in there in the first place. They were built to be taken down that day. Now, people would say, well, Brian, how could they do that in the middle of New York City? Easy. There were real legitimate businesses. Windows of the World restaurant on one roof. Observation deck on the other roof. You know what else was legitimate that was there? A fucking subway that brought a couple 100,000 people a day through the basement and in elevators up to the top, in and out of the building. And what would they be dressed like? Well, they would be dressed like just like people that would work in the financial district of Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole fucking place would never fucking know. Now, let me show you a couple videos. Because people will want to say all sorts of things. But let me show you. Because people say, well, Brian, this is where the truther comes in. Brian, you know, well, maybe I'll give you they faked a bunch of deaths, but the first responders definitely died. Dude, if the first responders definitely died, you wouldn't see the scenes that I'm about to show you. I'm going to go into a screen share.
All right.
And as close to the Pentagon as he's.
Okay. You see my screen?
Yep.
So again, these are the hospitals in New York City on 9/11. So again, if people really died, you tell me what we're watching here.
And as close to the Pentagon as he's allowed to get tonight, reporting under the very difficult circumstances. Cynthia McFadden is on the west side of New York City in what we keep describing as the trauma center, where triage.
Yeah, it looks like she's seen a lot of trauma. Look at the shit-eating grin on her face just to start the video. And I want you to watch some things. I don't want to keep pausing it. You're going to see everybody's just mulling around. You're not going to see any bodies brought in. This is in New York City, where allegedly, 2,800 of the deaths supposedly went down. This is not like COVID all around the world, all different hospitals. This is one central location, and there's nothing going on at the hospitals. And you're even going to see a firefighter or an EMT walk by whistling Dixie with his fucking hands in his pockets. And you're going to tell me his comrades have been crushed under the rubble and they're worried about them all day long? The fuck out of here.
Was originally about meant to occur. Do you have any further sense or any closer sense of the magnitude of this in terms of human loss?
Well, Peter, what I can tell you is this. We have talked to sources who have been inside the triage center all day and asked them why the volume of extreme trauma, why the number of people just hasn't been seen. You can see this parade of ambulances.
Look at him. Hands in his pockets, whistling Dixie. He's either a firefighter or an EMT, right? So you're telling me his boys that all in the city with him are all crushed under the rubble, and this is what's going down, and the next video is even worse. It's hilarious, dude. And then, again, for the people that still want to hang on to the first responders definitely died, I'm going to show you an interview from a firefighter at Ground Zero, and you can get mad at me. You're going to have to admit to yourself that this guy is an actor. An actor.
I believe.
And, and I'm going to get into why there's no victims. It's not just, oh, there might be some, or Brian, you think the government cares about you. We'll get into all of it. Don't worry. Couple quick clips from the hospitals in New York City before we get into the schematics of the buildings. Then we'll talk about the jumpers. I have some footage of the jumpers I want to get into.
This is, I think, behind me here. We've been seeing ambulances come through all day and rescue vehicles.
Look at them.
For the most part empty, with the exception of rescue workers and some other rescuers at the scene. But
let's be honest, people. Chaos, mass tragedy event, or just another drill.
By and large, they have been walking into this center, not the kind of severe trauma. When I just asked why they weren't here, someone simply said, Cynthia, it's because the victims are dead.
There's nobody being rushed in because the victims are dead. Well, supposedly 2,800 died in New York or so, and they told us tens of thousands of people were in those buildings. There would clearly be thousands of injured people, broken legs, concussions, split open heads, people inhaling all sorts of shit. There's nothing going on because there were no people getting crushed under the rubble down the street. And now they're going to go into another story about Ted Olson and his wife, and the reason they're going to do that, they're going to say that's the one person they saw or whatever, because that's the story about the fucking phone call that was supposedly made from the back seat of the plane. And then the whole argument gets into this. Well, there weren't even phones on there, or were there phones on there? The whole time, everybody's legitimate the idea of the second plane. You know, it's just like Tower 7. This is important. People think Tower 7's like it's the best. You know, it's really not, because people chant things like 2 planes can't take down 3 buildings. Well, that's whoa, talk about a spell on yourself, because now you're talking about the planes and everything. Well, there were no planes. Okay. Now here's the other thing. Tower 7, if you didn't know, allegedly, according to the story, had no victims. There was nobody in it. Had no victims, right?
Right.
So what happens if you focus on Tower 7 all the time, like Richard Gage and these other guys do? Are you ever going to question the Social Security death index and the legitimacy of the tower victims? You're never going to even look at it. And by the way, I'll show you some of the memorials later. The memorials are a photoshopped, absolute fakery mess. Thousands of people, like it's disgusting. But we'll go to the next clip, because we don't even need to hear her say that story. We saw what's going on at this hospital. Let's go. Maybe they're not there. Maybe they're all at the other New York hospitals.
I don't know
There
why
you go.
it strikes me as just stunning, small detail. Let's go now to Cynthia McFadden. As we know, she has been monitoring the hospitals in New York for us. Cynthia.
Diane, these empty stretchers and wheelchairs say it all as far as the medical personnel
Oh, they do.
are concerned in the city at this point. There have been a couple of firefighters who have made their way here for smoke inhalation and dust inhalation, but none of this severely.
People, these are the hospitals in New York City on 9/11.
Wounded people have made their way here yet.
All right, and now for the people that still want to say, well, the first responders are definitely legit. They definitely died. None of the firefighters are lying. We've seen the interviews on YouTube, Brian. Hey, let's hear from one of the firefighters themselves. And you tell me, is this a real legit firefighter in New York City or an actor with a shiny suit on that's obviously dropping keywords out there to put you in the state of fear? And at the end, pay very close attention to what the news reporter says to close out the clip. It's absolutely priceless. Oh, and you're gonna hear. I'm gonna shut up. You're gonna hear my voice, but that's me in the past because I talked over this clip and I couldn't find the source clip anymore. So I'm just gonna let it play. It's like 4 minutes, and I'm just gonna use the restroom while it plays. And you guys, be honest: is this guy a real, legit firefighter concerned about his buddies in the rubble, or is him and the media people running a psyop on you? And this is what I mean by the whole truth community was psyoped on 9/11. They were psyoped into endlessly pushing fear. It still happens today. That's why I came out of retirement in 2017, because I saw so many people pushing fear off these ideas like Judy Wood and Dmitry Kalasov and his bullshit mini nukes and all this. Because what did they do? What have you seen? I know what I've seen. I've seen it's been done by deceit. But I've seen that everything that's happened to people basically has been by consent, and they don't just mass murder people. They'll convince you to take their poisons and all these other things. You'll do it to yourself, but they're not just dropping buildings on people's heads. And I'll get deeper into that. But have a look at this video. This is allegedly Ground Zero firefighter. Okay? You want my take? I mean, this is a complete joke. Oh, and somebody in the chat wants me to address my Mossad affiliation. Yeah, whatever, pal. Stick it.
Yeah.
Marvin, I'm being joined right now by a New York City firefighter, Morel Gibbs. He's been battling this fire, this destruction since 11 o'clock this morning. I believe you were in Tower 1 and 2. Can you share some of your experiences with us?
It's awful in there. It's devastating. In Tower 1, we went in to try to rescue people, but it collapsed again. It made us run back out, and we was in fear for our other fires. Right now, we got numbers of police officers unaccounted for. We got firemen, they're unaccounted for, and we're still trying to rescue, but because of the fear of the collapse and, I mean, the flames engulfed, it's so hot to get in there and save people, and right now we're doing the best we can.
Can you just give us a brief description of what it looks like down there?
It looks like Vietnam. I wouldn't kid you, I wouldn't lie. If they would say Vietnam, that's what it looks like. It looks that devastating. It looks like a movie set. There's something it's unbelievable.
Now, are they taking some of the victims out?
Right now, we have took out 2, but we can't even reach the other ones. Right now, it's so devastating there, we can't even reach nobody.
It must be frustrating for you as a firefighter because this is what you do. You go to try to help people.
No, we want to help, we want to rescue, but right now we feel, our hands are tied, but we're doing the best we can.
It must be very difficult on you having to wear this gear all day long. Since 11 o'clock this morning, you've been in there. You must be exhausted.
No, we're a little tired, but that's what we train for.
You reached out to your family. I'm sure they must be worried about you.
No, my mom knows I'm all right. Everything. I think my family knows I'm okay.
Now, there has been word circulating out here on the street that there are many firefighters and police officers unaccounted for, as you just mentioned. Can you give us a brief insight into that?
Right now, I think about probably 2 stations are unaccounted for. There's no numbers. No one's saying nothing. A lot of firefighters are shook up, hurt over it. I mean, we want to get in there and try to rescue these guys, but we got to kill the flames. We got to slow the heat down.
The flames are still going at this hour.
Yes, and debris. We're still scared for the buildings collapsing. Building 1 collapsed again. Even though
Collapsed again. This guy looks like he just left the Halloween store with his shiny suit, doesn't he? And the first thing he says is, I wouldn't lie. I wouldn't kid you. I wouldn't lie to you. That's the first thing Elias says to you. And then he does notice in all these 9/11 interviews, they'll tell you it was just like a movie. And there's this reason they do that. And that's so when you see shit that looks fake, you correlate it with reality. It's in so many of them. It's in so many. Multiple people tell you it was just like a Bruce Willis Die Hard movie.
Jude,
Oh, yeah.
when this happened, see, I was still in bed. I worked afternoons. I was a waiter, evening time, right? And so I was still in the bed when this first went down, and some people from my restaurant called me up and said, "Turn on your TV." And that was the first thing I thought when I saw it. I thought, what is this, Die Hard or something? And then they said a plane crashed into the World Trade Center. And my first thought was, oh, wow, I'm surprised this hasn't happened sooner. I said, because, these planes, you always see them flying right in through there to JFK Airport and shit, and from what it looks like it's coming right by buildings and stuff, right? So
Yeah.
it wasn't until the second one but you're right about that. I caught that when he said it, it's like a movie set. And then Vietnam, how is that in any way like Vietnam? What would you know about Vietnam? Look how old this guy is.
Yeah. And it goes on and on. More keywords will be dropped. And then the anchor at the end is going to just do exactly, take this, it's just like a movie thing, to the next level. Just
twice, and you got one building down there. It's no more building. It's just burned up.
There's probably a lot of smoke still down there, right?
It is. A lot of debris.
It must be very hard to breathe for you.
Yes, it is. It's our eyes are taking the worst beating right now.
What a faker.
Where are you heading right now? Are you heading for a break?
Yes, I am. Headed for a break to the car, and then after that, I'm going back in.
What do you hope to do when you go back in right now?
I hope to go back in and save somebody.
Think there are still people in there that are alive at this hour?
I think so.
You are doing a phenomenal job, as is all of New York City, both firefighters,
Now here it comes.
officers, and we want to thank New York City
Well,
firefighter
listen to the anchor.
Morel Gibbs for joining
Even
us.
crazier than
We're
this
gonna
guy.
get right back
it's
to
me
you
in the
now.
past.
Listen to this.
Thank you. Describing it as a scene like Vietnam. And there could possibly be some people buried beneath that rubble in pockets there. Let's hope and pray that they can be found. But just imagine how much debris, all that rubble, all that
Well, he was
mortar.
saying so far all he wants to do is save somebody, but he hasn't run across any bodies yet, just debris, and the fire is still burning. He looked completely exhausted. But the way he's just matter-of-factly said, I'm just going to rest for a few minutes and then I'm going to go back in. And this is my job. It's just incredible.
Watch this.
Breathe heavily when you hear those things.
Vietnam, war zone, surreal, nuclear disaster, like a nuclear disaster. These are the things we've been hearing.
All hoaxes, by the way. All
And again,
hoaxes.
that site is just absolutely, it looks like something from a movie where a digital effect has obliterated those twin towers of the World Trade Center, except unfortunately, this is all too real. And
Oh, wow. And again, the reference to the movie again,
Yeah, and then he's like, and it looks just like a digital effect has obliterated the Twin Towers, except it's all too real. Now, let me say this: for people that say, well, what happened that day? Well, what happened that day is like the buildings were taken down for real. I don't think the towers are there. The buildings were taken down at the time they told us on the television, but they were taken down like truth is what to say, controlled demolition. Yeah, it was a controlled demolition, except you're missing the point. People aren't inside buildings during fucking controlled demolitions. Okay. So, and I saw somebody had mentioned in the chat that they saw smoke from a distance. Yeah, no shit. They took the buildings down. Everybody that wasn't right around the building could easily see that the buildings were taken down, that there was smoke, that there was all that. Okay. But here's the thing. People are so psyop by the TV, they'll tell you they saw things they didn't see. Like, I know the person that says they saw smoke didn't see an airplane. Right. So I was on a show one time and I thought I was going on there for a Mandela Effect interview. And he all of a sudden said he was in New York on 9/11. Right.
Oh, no.
So I started having a talk with him and he was like, yeah, me and my dad saw the second plane. And I said to him, so you saw the second plane hit the tower, or you saw some smoke on the tower and you went inside and looked at the TV and they told you it was a plane? And he had to admit to me right there. And he did admit that he just lied to me. And I told you, I said, you see how that works? Everybody wants to be part of the story. I'm not denying that the buildings came down. The buildings absolutely came down. That's part of the psyop. But the thing is, there weren't people inside it. Okay. Now, why weren't there people inside it? Well, first off, I'm going to show you even more evidence other than just empty hospitals and fake firefighters. If that's not good enough, we'll look into the actual buildings themselves. But nobody's going to participate if you fucking people are going to die. That's how it works. If I'm running, let's say I'm running, so somebody said I'm working for the Mossad in the chat. So Brian, the Mossad agent, is running 9/11, right? I'm planning 9/11 logistically, at least in the New York City aspect of it physically, right? So I need 100. Yeah. I need 100 agents. I would need more, but let's just say for easy math, I need 100 agents, and I walk up to, and they got to do whatever I need them to do, whether it's plant bombs or seal off perimeters, whatever it is, right? So hey, we're gonna do this. It's for the good of the country. You're going to be compensated well, you and your family, but a few thousand people might, get crushed under these buildings today. Nobody's going along with it.
Right.
Now, if you reframe that question, good of the country, and you say, and not a hair on anybody's head is going to get hurt. Dude, you don't even got to give most of these NPCs extra compensation. They're government bootlickers. They'd love to do it if it's a fucking hoax, dude. And that's how it keeps going. And that's how you keep real whistleblowers from coming forward, because there are no real whistleblowers. Because if the family's not real, there's no real family members to get lawsuits for fucking wrongful death and all this other shit to come after you, because you don't have that issue at all, because you completely hoaxed the thing.
Well, now there's going to be a lot of people out here that's going to find that a tough pill to swallow. A lot of the things coming up. I think my son had some stuff he'd asked about that too. It's like, and there again, regarding victims, I mean, those people that were jumping out of the hole.
Oh, yeah.
And stuff.
I'm glad you brought that up. Yep. I'm so glad, because the jumpers is a whole nother aspect. Okay.
Well, that was going to bring me to my next thing, because there's a very specific pose that they showed over and over, the falling man upside down with his leg bent, right?
Yeah.
And do you think that there was I think that this was also a ritual as well. I think it was an actual a magic being, a spell being placed over everybody, of course, in the form of a deception, but like a ritualistic spell. A lot of people have likened it to the two pillars of Freemasonry with Joaquin and Boaz, and that they were the amount of time, 33 years from the time they came down. And there is some stuff to that. I think the Pentagon began construction on 9/11, September 11, 1941, and then 60 years later, So I wonder, do you think that there's an esoteric aspect to this too? Yeah, that guy.
Oh, for sure. Well, this isn't the famous falling man one. This is other jumpers. But let me tell you what you're reported to be seeing here, okay? And then I want you to think about it for a minute. This is allegedly 2 separate photographs from 2 separate photographers in 2 separate locations of 3 different people. One photograph with these 2 people and one photograph with the other guy, when it's clearly the same photograph with an extra person added on and fire added on to this guy's feet. Now, it gets better than that, because I'm going to get into something a little deeper. Now, we want to talk about the jumpers. Besides just images like this that look completely ridiculous, let's talk about the actual schematics of the building. I'm going to show you some images of the jumpers in a minute. I'm going to bring them up, and you'll be familiar with these images. That's when all the people were supposedly climbing out the windows. Now, when you look at these images of the people climbing out the windows, I'm going to show you something. So let me just get back. Sorry, I just got to find all my stuff.
See, that was something too that it took, that put you into, that was traumatizing, because you put yourself into the mindset of that guy. It's like, It was so horrific that he just went ahead and went out. I mean, and you put yourself in that dynamic of being faced with that decision, and I think that was the purpose behind that, was to put that type of trauma.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely, for sure. Okay, so I'm going to bring up some images here. And, that is not the one I wanted. Where is it? Sorry, it's just going to take me a minute to find the images I needed. Okay, here's one.
Yeah, that one. I remember that.
So you see all these people coming out these windows? Okay, the windows are open. People coming out open windows. Now, first off, none of them are shattered, nor would they be able to. They're shatterproof windows. Not only are the windows of the World Trade Center shatterproof, the World Trade Center of the windows didn't open. in reality.
Right.
In reality, they were 7-foot windows, which I'm going to show you what they actually look like compared to what they showed us on 9/11. This is not really the World Trade Center. This is clearly a stage set somewhere else, and I'm going to show you. The real windows of the World Trade Center were all 7-foot windows that did not open. This is you would find these on any floor. I'll bring up more images, and I'll even bring you up images of a man standing in the frame. You can see that they're like 7-foot windows. And if you look at the schematics of the World Trade Center, all the windows were 7 feet and I believe 3 feet, and they did not open. Unlike the imagery we're shown on 9/11, the jumpers would have been a complete impossibility. Windows in skyscrapers like that do not open,
Right.
and they were shatterproof in the World Trade Center. This is just a movie set somewhere that was put into the coverage. Again, it was all fake videos that they showed us. This isn't even what the World Trade Center windows actually look like. They're not even the same size, dude.
Wow. Those people would be enormously tall too. It looks like, compared if those are 7-foot windows.
Oh yeah.
It was like, what?
Yeah.
Oh, the Knicks, New York Knicks were in there, or what?
And that's a great point, because there's one image that really shows that really well. And I actually just had it. And hold on, I'll bring it back up. Let's see, right here. Just trying to open my folder. It's taking a second. Here we go. Look at this guy. So that's why he's highlighted here. Look at the size of him. And clearly you can see these are not the windows I just showed you. These are windows that have dividers on them. So these actors can come out and perpetrate that they're going to be the jumpers of the World Trade Center. This is not the World Trade Center. No. And this guy, look at the size of him. That's why it says 7 feet, because the World Trade Center windows, like I just showed you, they're 7 feet. So how fucking big is this guy? Right? Look at him. The whole thing's ridiculous.
So then they use Nephilim for Oh my God, we're just gonna open. Don't even say that. There'll be somebody who'll go down that rabbit hole. Trust me. You gotta be careful.
Oh, well, I want to bring up some real doozies right now for images real quick. Something that'll really grab some attention. And let me view large icon. Hang on. Here we go. This is the World Trade Center, 1972.
Okay.
This is after, by the way, they already allegedly started occupying the towers, as you can see clear through still, as you can see capped off at the top. But also, I have images from 1978, and you could see that they had just put a cladding up on the building. And by the way, this is the image of the guy standing in the window frame that I told you I had for you. This is allegedly from the 91st floor, okay? Which allegedly these Vienna art students had a book called The Gelatin Bee, where it looks like, they were possibly staging part of this jumper scene. Now, I don't know how much of that is false rabbit trails, because it seems to all just be fake video anyways. They weren't like throwing dummies out the window or anything like that. That's an extra level that they tried to lead us down. But have a look at this. Through a Freedom of Information Act, the same floors that you can see clear through, and I'll get you this other image of the 78 in a minute, that you can see clear through, are the same floors, that Marsh McLennan and Cantor Fitzgerald occupied. Just those two companies alone claimed like 1,600 of the deaths on floors that you couldn't even access because there's no floor there. And then on top of that, there's also, watch this. The elevators of the World Trade Center just so happen to skip those same exact floors. And they take you right up to the tourist attractions, which I told you are very real.
So
but the elevators,
let me get this straight. There was nothing like below the 78th floor at all. I mean, no. Those areas that were clear like that.
Yeah, almost all the way down. The lot, there was definitely a real lobby. There was definitely a real subway, like I said. There might have been some couple of maintenance floors or something above it. I'm not saying every floor was not finished, but the large majority of them, yes, never never even full of anything. And that's why you have the lack of debris. Obviously, you have the lack of victims, which we talked about. You had made a great point, which is something we brought up before, about the lack of contents and desks and safes and phone cord and all this stuff. And the elevators just so happened, dude, they told us the plane hit the 79th floor and all the people above it was stuck. And those are all the people that died. I mean, it's just absolutely absurd.
Holy cow. See, I was unaware of that. I was totally, all this time, I was totally unaware that those floors weren't even finished. They were just.
Yeah, man. And then this is 1978. And by the way, if you want to know where I got the images from, it was a site called Lyra.com. They did pull these eventually, but they are actually the architectural firm that oversaw the construction of the World Trade Center. Why they would have let something like this out, don't know. But as you can clearly see, and this is not an office building full of fucking people.
Wow.
Let's take a look at this. Oh, and I do have a video I want to play. It's a 3-minute call that my friend Chris Kendall, who's no longer with us anymore, he made a call to the Social Security Death Index to question them about the missing victims. And I want you guys to hear this. So let's see. Short clips. Let's see. 1 second. Oh, where the hell is it? Oh, I think it's right here. Hang on. Sorry. I got it. Yeah, I got it. It's about to open up.
Go to the Social Security Death Index.
And by the way, this is 13 years ago we were doing this and pulling this shit apart, and we'll get into more psyops and stuff. But now I hope people can start to see why, I'm just so sick of focusing my energy on all this stuff when I know it's all fabricated.
Yeah.
Especially the fabricated fear. So I'm not just somebody that sees these things recently and just calls it fake off a whim. We really had to dig through this. And even then, this was taboo. And for 4 years, I was screaming from the rooftops about this hoax in depth. And there were some people, sure. But the large majority of said truth community, even 9/11 community, very much against it. And they all want to continue to push every theory you could imagine as long as thousands of people died in New York City that day. But if the thousands of people died, well, I don't know, man. Things aren't adding up. Empty hospitals, buildings that don't look like they were ever fully occupied, missing death records. We're going to look at some Photoshopped memorials soon.
Yeah, that's very telling if there's no death records, because we know how hard they hang on to that trust. That's a real important thing that, tying right in with that birth certificate thing. They're going to tie, they're not going to let that dog go.
Yeah. And they did fabricate some. Now, did they fabricate some from scratch, or did they have some people that were actually real and lived in real neighborhoods, but they had military ties or whatever, and those people just on assignment moved away? That contributes to some of it. Yeah, I would think that there would be a combination of all these things. Now, when people say, well, just think about it, right? You could have played a 9/11 victim, right? Your image could be used, Dave, right?
Right.
And you could just go to another city and not even change your name. Nobody would ever know. Now, people would say, well, what do you mean? Dude, who's looking through the 9/11 memorials? And nobody, not even the truthers. And when you do look through, if I saw somebody that looked like you could, easily just say it's a doppelganger. It's somebody else with a different name. Now let's have a listen to Chris Kendall's call to the Social Security Death Index about the 2,600 or so missing death records to do with 9/11. And also, by the way, if you look at the state of New York, 9/11 and the following days and following weeks, never a spike in deaths, never a spike in death tolls. It stayed within the average of around 500 per day. In the state of New York, New Jersey, same thing. Nothing spiked around there. Should have been a massive.
Go to the Social Security Death Index. Click on the Advanced button. Type in the year of death of 2001. Type in the month, September, day 11, and then put the state of New York. Take a look at what the Social Security Death Index lists as the number of people who died in New York on 9/11/01. It's 405 people. You can click and sort by age and count and see how many people are under the age of, let's say, 80. You're going to come up with an even smaller number, probably somewhere around 200 the last time I checked, probably even lower than that. And then go into September 12th, the following day.
So I played the wrong video, but I will grab it as this is playing. This is Chris just showing us, and I know it's really blurry, so you'd have to take word on it. But I'll go get his actual call to the Social Security Death Index off my Odyssey channel while this is playing, and he's explaining.
You see a number.
Oh, I have it. I'll play it next. I got it right here.
For that day of 351 in this whole entire state of New York on September 12th of 2011. Then go into the state of New Jersey on September 11th. You'll get 191 recorded deaths.
No spike all around the area. No spike. Now, Chris called the Social Security Death Index to question them on the missing death records and more so the process of what would qualify somebody as a death, when it would be reported, and all this. And again, you tell me if there's something totally fishy afoot, or if you really think thousands of people in New York died. And there's just also, not only is there empty hospitals and missing debris and actors clearly that are firefighters, fake jumper imagery, now we have manipulation at the Social Security Death Index. I'm just saying,
I'm going to play the...
Okay, so this is a pre-recorded clip I have that's going to lead into Chris's call.
The clip
to the Social Security Death Index and see how many people. Social Security Death Index.
Hang on.
See the people listed in there.
Here we go.
The trade tower.
Donate their bodies to science.
Or like a medical exam. The individual. They
Okay, what happens is
find out information on. Check it out yourself. Pretty amazing.
that's not even the call. Here's the
It's
call.
gonna lead into it.
Sorry. Have a listen, guys.
Good morning, Social Security Administration. May I help you?
This is good stuff.
Hi there. Yeah, I'm trying to get I want to speak to somebody in the records department. I have a specific question about the Social Security Death Index.
You have a question about it?
Yes.
Okay, what's your question in regards to that?
I'm trying to find out information on specific records of what's the criteria. I'm doing some research and I'm trying to find out some specific information about how these records are handled and how they get into the index and that sort of thing.
Okay, what happens is when a person passes away, of course, their Social Security number is on their death certificate.
Okay.
When the report comes to Social Security, we either get it from a family member, or we will get it from the funeral director, or we will get it from the state that handles the death. Once we get that information, we record the date of death on our records, and that's how it gets into the index.
Oh, okay. So, like the individual, they don't necessarily, like a family member doesn't necessarily have to apply for benefits for the record to go in.
No, sir.
Oh, so the funeral director or like a medical examiner or something like that?
Yeah, anyone can call to report a death. You have some individuals that don't have family. You have some individuals that don't have funerals. They donate their bodies to science. Anyone can call to report a person has passed away. As long as they have the correct information to give us and collaborates with what we have, we'll record that information, and that's how it goes into the death index.
Okay. Yeah, my research is I'm trying to I was looking into the events of September 11th of 2001 with the trade tower attacks and all that stuff. And I was going into the records, the Social Security Death Index records, and I don't see the people listed in there. Why would that not be? Hello?
If they should be listed, if they're deceased, no matter what was the cause of death, if they're deceased, their information should be in that death index. The only way it would not appear is if the death was never reported to Social Security.
Okay. Because,
so that means
I'm sorry.
So that means if a person was working at that facility on that day that it happened, and they didn't have any family, and let's say their bodies were never found or whatever the situation may be. They just are on a list of a name. If they had no one to alert Social Security that they passed away, then their information would not be updated with the death information.
Oh, okay. Well, let me tell you what I found. I searched like the averages, like for, like a certain amount of people will, be deceased on any day, right? And let's just say the state of New York. So I look up like September 3rd of 2001, and it gives me a number of 1,079 people, and then I do another search for September 10th, like of 2001, the day before, and it gives me 1,184. But if you go to September 11th of 2001, it says 1,564. So that's not even a significant deviation from the average. You know what I mean? It's like it's so according to these records, it's showing that like there was no substantial increase in deaths reported. You see what I'm getting at?
Right, I understand what you're saying, but remember, we can only go by what's reported to our agency.
Oh, so you think maybe that like 3,000 people died, but then like there wasn't enough of them that were reported to the agency to even show
it is a possibility. Exactly, it is a possibility that it was not reported to the agency. So if it's not reported to the agency, we're not going to go out and seek information on deceased people. If it's not reported to us, then it's just not reported. There's nothing we do to go out and seek that information. We don't look for that.
Okay, so then like out of all those people, like there wasn't even probably wasn't even a significant number of people that were even reported to have died then. They weren't reported to the Social Security Administration then. Out of all those
and then
people,
you have to look at this. With the 911 situation, you had a lot of scams and a lot of fraud that was going on. Yeah. Now, if there was fraudulent situation or scams going on with people trying to say that family members passed away and they were trying to get reparation for that, then a lot of that information may be flagged where it's not going to show on a death index, because some death records, there are criteria where a person's death record is not available to the public. So if that's a situation where the death information is not available to the public, then they're not going to show up on our death index that's available to the public. So it's not going to show that. There are some death records when a person passes away, we cannot disclose their death information at all.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, what is the criteria for that then?
That's something that's internal for our agency.
Oh, okay.
So there are different situations where the agency itself will put an alert on the record where we cannot disclose any death information from the record.
Yeah.
So that means if you were to call and say, I have Jane Doe's, and you give us a Social Security number, you're just calling to validate if this person is deceased. If this person has that alert on their record, we will tell you we cannot disclose any information from this record. So we couldn't tell you anything, whether the person is alive or deceased. We wouldn't be able to tell you anything. So I'm thinking that could be the situation with the 911 attack and the individuals that died from that, because there was it was a lot of scams that were going on dealing with that. And if we just put their information publicly out there on the death record where a person could obtain their Social Security number and things of that nature, we don't know how much fraud that person will commit, assuming that they were a relative of this individual.
Right, but I would think that would do the opposite, because the names are public already. Like you can go to the CNN memorial,
but the Social Security numbers aren't public.
No, the Social Security numbers are never public, though, as far as I know. Those never get published, do they?
Yeah, you can request Social Security information on a deceased person. Yes, sir.
But you can get somebody's Social Security, a deceased person's Social Security number if it's in the records, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then that's not. It won't be available for fraud because it's already in the death index, and then nobody could use it for fraud, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. In that situation, no, you're wrong.
Oh, really?
Because you had people that were claiming money was being given to certain family members or certain individuals for for like an accident. It was an accident that occurred to these people, an accidental death claim. Let's say they sued and they tried to get reparations for the death of the loved one.
Mm-hmm.
They can use that information fraudulently to obtain funds off of a person that passed away during that situation, and it can be fraud. So if they come with all of the necessary information, people commit major fraud. Okay,
Right.
People will do anything to scam the government.
Mhm.
So that could be why a lot of their information is not publicized. But yes, a person can take that death information to try to use it at a disadvantage and try to get money from it, dealing with that particular situation.
Okay,
But if a
'cause-
person just passed away in a normal situation, and it's, just a normal situation where a person passed away in the hospital or anything like that, then of course that information is searchable. There's no need to hide that information. And a lot of times people go on and check that, especially for family members and things of that nature. But something as tragic as the 9/11, a lot of that information is not just going to be readily available, not this soon after that tragedy.
Well, that's what you just said. It kind of confuses me because this is. I mean, I'm really confused now because you're saying that, like, on the case where you have this number of people dying, you don't want to publish. They don't want to go. We don't want to put them on record as being officially deceased. So, according to the records,
I'm not saying we're not putting them on the record as being officially deceased.
Mm-hmm.
The record is just not public knowledge.
It's not public knowledge. So, in other
But we're
words,
not the ones that determine official death. We don't do that. If a person's social security number, if a person passes away, the only thing Social Security does is stamp their social security number inactive because they're deceased. That's all we do.
Right, but then here's the thing I'm confused about. That if that's the case, and then so the Social Security Administration is not going to put those individuals on the official record as having been deceased, then that seems like it would do the opposite. It would open that up to fraud because at that point, you have the names, of someone who wanted to perpetrate fraud could operate from there and say, well, I'm such and such, and such and such actually passed away, but you can walk around and use their identity and stuff like that because it's not in the official records as you being deceased. You see what I'm getting at?
Yeah, it's not the name that a person uses, it's the social security number. If we have in our records that social security number is inactive and a person that's using it fraudulently tries to use that social security number, they're going to get a red flag that this number is not valid or it's not an active number. So if you're the person committing fraud, how fast are you going to be to contact Social Security if you know you're committing fraud on that social security number?
Well, if it's not in the record, and then like a bank or someone else wanted to verify that social security number or something like that.
We are not going to verify for a bank or any other entity. When that bank puts that information into the system, they have a system that they go in that they can collaborate the information to see if anything shows or any fraud alerts or anything shows on a particular.
I just gotta say that's me in the past with the mic not muted. Blow my nose and shit. Hey, this is long before I learned radio etiquette. Okay, there's like 4 minutes left. I'm gonna let the rest of this.
Sometimes, Brian, I pride myself on my amateurism. I mean, it's just it makes it real.
Isn't this call ridiculous though? Like
ridiculous. It is. It's like Runaround City, man. Come on.
The social security number. When they feed that information into their system and it collaborates, it's going to come up as invalid because it's not an active number because that number is of a deceased person.
Right, because it's entered into the death index. Right.
No, we have internal records that you're not allowed to see.
Oh,
Maybe
I see, that. but when I go and look up this information, there's no social security numbers or anything like that published, and you wouldn't expect there to be. So
right,
it's just the name. So that doesn't. So what you're saying is these individuals are in the record. They're just not a matter of a public search or anything like that. So.
That's correct. It may be a situation where their information is being kept confidential.
So that their information is like their name. Now, why would their you're saying information, but what information is being kept? What information will be kept confidential except for the social security number? I don't understand because their
Okay,
first and last
sir,
names is already a matter of
listen,
public
listen,
record.
sir.
That's what I don't understand.
Alrighty. Well, here's what you need to do. We have an office called Freedom of Information Act office, and if you want to contact them, you're more than welcome to contact them to try to see why this information is not public knowledge or not accessible through our website. But that's something you have to contact that office about. We don't handle Social Security numbers in that aspect through this 1-800 number. We deal with benefits.
Right. But I'm just
give you detailed
really
information on what situations would render that.
I'm really confused.
What are you trying to obtain off of a death index?
No, I'm just saying because you're saying that the Social Security would keep information from the public under certain circumstances. As far as someone is deceased or not, but I can't for the life of me understand why that the Social Security Administration would not want to have that as a, let's say, I died on 9/11. I'm Chris Kendall. I died on 9/11. And then somebody can go in there and say, yeah, Chris died on 9/11, and they could type my information into the Social Security Death Index, and then my name comes up, and then my just like all the information that comes up on their date of death, September 11, date of birth, blah, blah, blah. That information is already out there in other areas. It's in the newspaper. It's on the memorial site and all that stuff. So how does that protect or prevent anything by not putting that record in the death index? I don't understand that.
That's a good question, but I don't know the inside of the situation. There are some things that Social Security is just not going to put as public information.
Okay. You could you put me in contact with somebody who would know, like, real specifically, like why that would be or anything like that?
Sure. What city and state are you calling from?
I'm calling from Lawton, Oklahoma.
$30 seconds left.
I'm sure she's looking real hot.
Yeah, there was an article in different papers and all about this, and there was a congresswoman that was allegedly looking into it. And so it's people are asking questions about this. So I was trying to
hold for just a moment. Let me transfer you over to another office.
All right, thank you.
And that is it. She transfers them, and they never pick up, and then they disconnect them after, and that's the end of the call. But I'm sorry that was a little bit long, but I thought it was very relevant, and we should play it. So thank you for letting me play that whole clip. And Chris,
very interesting, man.
Yeah. Chris is no longer with us anymore, so big shout out to Chris. I hope he rests in peace. A lot of people on that, and that was me and my co-host Justin were airing that on our live stream when we had Chris on, and that's why you heard us in the background. I didn't have the source clip of it, and Justin's not here anymore either. A lot of people have passed and gone from my 9/11 days, so.
That's unfortunate.
But really sharp guys, man. They really had a lot of this figured out. Now, when Chris made that call, the stuff that I'm presenting to you now, Chris was on the same page around the same time. He was actually even before me with some of it. And so he already knew that this was, nonsense when he was making the call in there. Like he knew, and he was trying to get them to, see what they were going to say. And obviously you saw they were completely full of shit. Everything she said is contradictory to the last thing that she said.
I know, that's what I was saying. It was like total runaround shit, and I was like, well, what do they get trained in how to run people? They must have, like, for government workers, some kind of training course where they're taught how to just double speak and give the runaround. They do that. I don't care what you call it, DMV, whatever. I'm glad, Brian, that you've got your freedom to travel back. You can drive and shit. That's really cool. I went through a similar experience with that. And there again, with that bureaucratic runaround, when I was all done and got all that stuff and went to the DMV, went up to the window, that lady was going to give me the runaround and said, oh, I didn't have all the right stuff.
Yeah.
So I immediately called my case officer, my probation officer. I said, look, they're telling me I can't do this. What's the deal? And she goes, you leave me on the phone and you go back in there. Well, this time I got the lady right next to her. I handed up the paperwork. I'm getting ready for the crap. Nothing. She just starts running it through. And I said, wait a minute, how come you're not having a problem? And this woman over there was. And that woman looked straight at me and said, because she doesn't know what she's doing. And so I just looked over at her and I says, I'll accept your apology. And then just went on about my business. But I mean, it's just that same type of crap. They just say whatever they want. I don't know. But
no, yeah, this stuff that I've been presenting on 9/11 for years, it's been a very hard pill for most people to swallow. As you can imagine, like people think, oh, this guy's going to come on and talk about 9/11 and it's 9/11 inside job this and inside job that.
Yeah,
And that's what they want you to do. Just like what we're seeing now. It's a lab leak. It's this, it's that. When in reality, it was nothing. It was a hoax. It's the same thing.
That's
Dude, when this thing started in the last 3 years, one of the first videos I made was it's all the same, only the names have changed. And I was showing the 9/11 stuff and leading into this, and it's the exact same thing, dude. From the empty hospitals to the way that people just the way the screen completely covers your eyes from what's actually going on out in reality is astonishing to me, dude. But here's the thing, dude. So 9/11, and then we have the last 3 years. And then all the stuff I went into after, and we'll get into the moon landing in a minute because I do want to spend some time on that and NASA.
Yeah.
We'll get to the Mandela effect. If you have time tonight, I would.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm ready.
And we don't have to go too far into all the shootings and all that. But, you look at all of these, and I covered the Boston Marathon the day it went down. You can look on my website. I exposed the thing in Connecticut the day it went down. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then after a while, though, it's Aurora, it's the Pulse nightclub, and then it's just like, how much of this shit am I going to look at?
Mm-hmm.
And by that time, I know that being presented about space and all that is a lie, and we're just about to get into that. But this is kind of like my journey, and eventually, after seeing half a decade of everything being completely fake, fabricated, and meant to keep people in fear, I don't want to be around that. I don't need to be around that. I know it's all fake. There's no benefit in the media at all. There's no benefit in the two-party political system at all. Stop buying into fake heroes like Donald Trump. Stop buying into fucking fake people on the news like Tucker Carlson. Just give it up. Just stop. There's no value in it. It's not worth watching it at all. And even if you think you're going to watch it and it's not going to have an effect on you, you're wrong.
Well, look, what did
no planes on 9/11? Just the simple fact that there were no planes on 9/11 and the media showed you airplanes, you should never trust anything from any media source ever again.
Well, Joseph Goebbels even said, I believe he's accredited with this quote: "Think of the media as a great keyboard on which the government can play." And that's what I'm seeing it as. Now, as you were showing these earlier things, as you gave the comparison, it was really great. You gave the comparison to, like you said, the last 3 years. And then those things, I was more focused on the building, who did it and what made it come down, that kind of shit. And not looking at what many would consider the minutia. Like, let's look at these hospital scenes and shit. I wasn't paying attention to that. But now looking at it with even wiser eyes these many years later, I go, oh shit, that throws a whole nother dynamic on it, because I've seen the last 3 years for the theatrics that it was. But that one, you're looking more at the actual physical event than you are the minutia that adds up to looking at like what.
And there's a whole underlying aspect of this too that most of us look past. We're all very, very, the large majority of this truth community is all very largely emotionally attached to 9/11.
Yes.
So, and we've been shouting, not me, because I've had a different perspective this whole time, but so many have been shouting about the many different ways in which the government might have killed you on 9/11. And that's exactly what they wanted you to do, because now you're in the same trap as the mainstream people. You just have different stories of fear to push,
And then add into the dynamic directed energy weaponry, and all these other things. And it's like, although I do think that there's a lot of validity in those ideas of that, but not necessarily in this event. I mean, those.
Yeah, me too.
I had just driven through Paradise, California, not more than an hour before it went up like that. I had no idea that the fire was supposedly that fierce. I was just trying to make my way back south. And when I saw the aftermath of that, it blew my mind, because I was like, wait, how do you have a forest fire without forest burning, just houses? Really. So that added some of the validity to the other idea. So it's easy to get down these rabbit holes, but like you said, man, devil's in the details. And those ones where you were showing, like the lady standing outside the hospital going,
Yeah.
Wait a second, that place should be a fucking madhouse right now.
And I only showed two of them. The one at the Pentagon, same thing. We could be here all night. And I've done 9/11 shows that are 6 hours long, and I show all of it. But the Pentagon hospital, same thing. Nothing going on. Yep. No people brought in. They tell you they've brought one person in. All right. Well, 125 people supposedly just died at the Pentagon. So where are they?
Right. Well, like Mr. B, he said, and I always run into people. He was just here in the chat a couple of minutes ago. I put his comment up there. He said his uncle saw the plane hit the Pentagon. But it's always my uncle's friend's best friend's sister-in-law said she saw.
Dude, literally people. So no, I don't back down from any challenge. And we can disagree on what happened on 9/11 and still have a great conversation. So anybody that says they know somebody on 9/11, I make it very clear in the weeks leading up to 9/11 every year. Hey, on 9/11, I'm going to do an anniversary show exposing the entire media hoax. And anybody is welcome to call in. And all these people that yap in my Facebook comment section, how they knew somebody's cousin's or sister's dog's hairdresser fucking died at the top. Nobody ever fucking calls in. Not only that, you'll notice, I'm not going to say 100% of the time, but you'll notice 90% of the time when somebody tells you they know somebody that died in the towers, they don't even give you the name if you ask. They don't even have a name ready. They're just ready to tell you that they were part of this because they know somebody that died in the towers. And you say who, and I'm not saying nobody ever comes back with the name. I'm just saying 9 out of 10 times, they don't even, that's it. That's all they have. And again, anybody that lives in New York, easily fooled. People that don't really realize where the World Trade Center was, there's tons of other skyscrapers. So even from a block away, you can't see the towers. There's so many places you can't see it. You can see it in New Jersey from across the water. And yeah, you're going to see that the towers are smoking. Nobody saw, you're not going to tell me that you saw the plane coming in. I know you did. There was no plane coming in. And this is what will happen. The plane's supposedly going 500 miles an hour. Let's just say you're not you right now, but before you started your awakening and you live in New Jersey and you look over, you hear the towers were just hit, right? So the first plane hit, you hear about it, right? The second plane didn't come yet. Okay, we're going to leave this whole thing wide open to let's just say if there were real planes, right? So the first plane hits, you see it on the news, you come outside, North Tower is smoking, right? The second tower gets hit, but you don't see the plane, right? But you go back in, the TV tells you there was a plane. You would totally rationalize in your head how you could have missed a 500-mile-an-hour plane over in that skyline. And you're just going to roll with the story. So people might even roll with it and tell you they saw a plane,
Well, and you've also got those people, too, that they feel it gives them a moniker of importance, too,
exactly.
To embellish, from the idea of I got up and looked out the window and sure enough, across the river, I saw, smoke coming out of the building, to there I was looking out my window at the skyline when I saw, they'll change it enough to where they get the relevance of importance,
And again, you're not going to get past all the stuff I showed you. You're going to have to really at least think about it. Now, it gets even deeper. So for instance, they tell you that there's these victims in towns near you, right? Especially when you live in New England, right? So I'm from near Boston, right? Literally, the guy that would have been the first victim would have been in all likelihood, the fucking pilot of the first plane, because he's sitting in front of the plane that hits the first towers. He happened to live up the street from me, allegedly, within 4 miles up the street, right?
Oh, wow.
Right in the next town over. So of course I'm putting this out. I got the normies in my. You can't say that. What about Oganowski? What about Oganowski? So I did an investigation into Oganowski, and John Oganowski is his name. He was the alleged pilot of Flight 11 that hit the North Tower. And when I did some investigation into his name, this is stuff you can get people publicly. You can get tax records on their property publicly at City Hall. I went and did this and a few other things. We don't need to get into all of it, but his name's not anywhere on the property. Just his wife. He's the supposed bread maker in the family. Large military background and commercial pilot for so many years, captain and all this, right? Nowhere is his name anywhere there. Then there were holes in the story to do with when they moved to the town, with a 5-year discrepancy from some interviews I pulled up in other places. And then on top of that, I found where the property came from for his wife, and the property was basically given to his wife, if that's really his wife, Margaret Ogonowski, from a company called Avco. Now, if you look into who Avco is, Avco fucking makes missiles for Raytheon. So it's owned by a defense contractor. That's where the fucking property came from. So it's all fucking ridiculous.
Wow.
I want to show you some pictures of Ogonowski.
You know, that's almost like some of those housing discrepancies around the event that happened in New Hampshire that Alex Jones recently got into a lot of trouble over. Sandy, you know, that place.
No, that was in Connecticut, and that whole thing, he didn't get in trouble over anything. That's a fake lawsuit, and that's to prop up all sorts of bullshit. First of all, he came out and said that the thing was fake. Then he flipped. I called the whole thing as it went down.
I watched it. I watched him do that because I did find a lot of discrepancies. You know, I mean, it was just so much weirdness around that whole thing. And there again, another big, huge mind fuck on the population. But I watched him flip on that. Let me tell you, I watched.
And they want to scare people from speaking out, thinking that they're going to get fucking sued.
Well,
and I've had to say this.
You
can't say that about the 9/11 victims. You can't say that about that thing because somebody's going to sue you. There's videos of me. You'll hear them when I'm saying, well, tell them to fucking come sue me. My name's Brian Staveley. Nobody's going to sue me.
No.
They don't want to bring that type of attention to a hoax.
Well, you know, the thing is where I got onto him the worst at was, you know, I watched him and then I started to see that he would drop you off at the wrong rabbit hole, you know, that kind of thing. And I'm going to pull your video up here in just a second. But the thing was, where it really got me was I met Alex Jones in person. I went to the Bilderberg protest. I forget what year it was, 2012, 2011, when it was in Chantilly, Virginia. I actually ran into Lou Grudowski there too. He was on the scene. Anyway, when I met Alex Jones and I shook his hand and I looked him in the eye, his eyes said it all. He's very deceptive. He can't hold a gaze. His eyes dart all over the place. It was like I felt complete deception from the man. I'm able to read people that way when I'm in person with him. I can see them, you know, and that really blew it for me with that guy, you know. And then I was like, I'm watching this guy for what he is, you know.
Yeah, and like I said, he was the biggest gatekeeper against no planes. On 9/11. And why? Because that's the whole trick. The alternative media is really protecting the mainstream media and their footage. That's what's really going down.
To the point of anger. That's very telling to me. When somebody gets to the point of anger, then that really tells me something right there. When methinks the lady doth protest too much.
Yeah. And I see you have like 125 people in chat, right? Started a few minutes ago. So that's
there is. Let me give a couple shout outs to some people that are here. This is really great.
Yeah, go ahead. Why don't you give a shout out and I'll go use the restroom real quick and then we'll talk more about Ogonowski and we'll start to wrap 9/11 up in a few minutes and head into some other things.
Sounds good. Sounds really good.
All right. So I'll be right back while you do shout outs.
We've got Art Acuto in here tonight. Art, good to see you. Hope everything's there doing well in your area. Of course, you're getting bombarded by Mother Nature, or is it really? Dreamy Lynn escaped the chains. They've got a lit 33.3. Gray Eagle, of course, pleasure to see you. Gwag, Jared Jaguar, Jeebus Crisp. It's so nice of you all to come in alphabetical order. It makes things so much easier. Kevin DeShill, I like that name. Mojo Shop, Mr. B is here. Push button 62. Renee Bernays, I hope you're feeling all right tonight. Great to see you here. We're going to get into some of the stuff you sent to me, perhaps here in a little bit. Gotta tell you, I'm really glad to have Brian here. He gives a hell of a presentation. He really makes you think. I got Sean Alke, Steffi P, TJ Trusty, Unindoctrinated, Wake Up American Resist. Good to see you again, my friend. and a host of other participants who may or may not be in the chat. They're just incognito. Michael, thank you so much. It's good to see everybody. It really is. And also, yes, this was originally scheduled for Wednesday, but things change, schedules change. We got to learn to be fluid. Things are happening fast. Banks are collapsing. And here I sit as a witness. I'm looking at it as a spectacular time to be alive and to be witnessing what's occurring in our world, because as I've said, I believe the beginning is near. Most want to say it's the end. If it's the end of this corrupt and deceptive system, then so be it. That's what I'm all for. That we can just take that right out on a stick. Jeebus Crisp is here, I see, as well. Some of them didn't show up in the other thing over here. See if I missed anybody. Lizzo French, you are a sweetheart, honey. Thank you for coming. Who else we got? I think that pretty much. Ann Gaynor. I think I pretty much, and Casey Skates. I think it's Mr. Super Sidewinder. Holy cow. We really got a lot of people in here. 119 watching us. It's spectacular.
Yeah, buddy.
And once again, thank you for coming on. This is right up our alley. This is the kind of stuff to open up minds and make people think. I want to break that deception away from people, because we always say, if you free your mind, your ass will follow, hopefully. So
yeah, so we'll wrap 9/11 up in a few minutes, and I want to get into Apollo and a couple other things, because I know we already been going 90 minutes, and we got to get to Mandela. Definitely going to get into a lot of Mandela effect later on too.
Oh yeah, listen, we've had some marathons in here before, but you're really bringing some fire. This is some great shit. We're enjoying it. I'm feeling like who's that dude that used to do? He's dead now. He used to do those things from the desert. Well, I forget what his name was. You know who I'm talking about? Caravan to Midnight guy or whatever. He'd always bring the woo.
Yeah.
I liked his voice. Anyway, you got this guy. Is this the pilot in question?
Yeah. So this is the pilot, John Ogonowski. Now, before I show you some blatant photo fakery with alleged 9/11 victims, I just want you to remember what we've seen so far. I have told you that there was 2,600 missing death records, but you also heard Chris Kendall actually call the Social Security Death Index and get into that whole conversation with them. We've seen fake imagery of jumpers, clearly fake imagery of planes.
Mm-hmm.
Shown you the ridiculous amount of missing floors within the World Trade Center. We know about the ridiculously small debris pile. I've mentioned the occupancy issues leading up to it way before. We'll talk more about how the PSYOP was run right in the middle of New York and nobody knew about it, because, again, things people say, well, Brian, do you think everybody got a phone call the day before not to come into work? And those people would be talking. There was nobody to call because they weren't in the fucking building in the first place. Right. Same reason there's no desks in the debris pile, right? And the same reason they make up rabbit trail bullshit stories like they shipped all the steel out the next day to China and all this, when in reality, the reason there was a lack of debris there after the fact is because there was never a huge amount of debris to begin with. Just another bullshit story. Now we're going to get into the victim memorials. So this is John Ogonowski. He was the captain of Flight 11. This hit the North Tower. When I say hit the tower, I don't believe that, but that's the story, okay? So here's Captain Ogonowski, the guy that lived up the road from me, the guy who's not on the property, whose wife got it from a missile manufacturer, okay? Now here's the image in one memorial, right? Now check this out. This is his image in the other memorial, right?
Mm-hmm.
With his daughter on his lap. It's the exact same image, just photoshopped. I mean, look at even the lighting on his face, right here and right here, right here and right here. Look at the wrinkle, the pose. It's identical. Why would they be faking any of the photography? Now, here's the thing. This isn't just once. I'm going to lay it out. So basically, of course, there's many memorials for the 9/11 victims, but there were two major ones online, the CNN memorial and the Voices for September memorial, okay? And every example I'm going to show you here is the shot of the person in one memorial and then the image that's used of them in the other. And it's clearly just a copy with stuff in the background, either added or removed, over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Now, what's the purpose for that? Don't know exactly. It surely shows photo manipulation that shouldn't be happening at all. I can only postulate theories, of why they would do that. Perhaps they held a contest to get images of people. Hey, a modeling contest, and we'll hit you up if you win. And they just kept the photos and they used them for victims. I don't know. Did they make just some of the people on the computer? That's very possible too, because they definitely had that capability, and even in 2001, to just computer generate people. Were they just people that work for the CIA and other agencies, FBI agents and all that, that just dressed up to pose for pictures for 9/11 victims with different names? That's very easy to do as well. But there shouldn't be any photo manipulation within the 9/11 memorials. But what you see instead is shit like this.
Dude, that's go back to that just for a second. Go back to that. I noticed something else about that. Okay, so if you look at that, just below to the right of him on the dash panel there of the cockpit.
Yeah.
Okay, right just below where your arrow's at. You see that amber? Look at that. Okay, now look where that's at in the other photo with the girl. So he wasn't even photographed in a that image of him looks like it was placed in a cockpit. They used the same one, but look how he's just shifted over now, because those instruments right there, they're over just to the right of that little girl's shoulder. If that was the same thing, you see what I'm saying? She would have been covering that crap up.
Well, she is covering this up right here in the other photo. See this? That's covered by her in the other photo.
I don't know. It just doesn't look like it'd be room for her. But anyway,
No, it looks like they just photoshopped her.
They had a cockpit picture, a face with him like that, and then later on had a little girl and just stuck them together.
Yeah, the other thing that's interesting about this girl too, and I forget her name at this point, is it Michelle? Or I don't remember. It's been so long. She is the one that gave the interview that lied about when they allegedly moved to the town. And it was a 5-year discrepancy where they tried to place themselves in the town before they were even in the town, allegedly even in the town. But let's have another look at this. So more memorials, right? All of these victims just so happen to have a Photoshop picture, one memorial and the other. Look at clearly the same picture. This one has a person next to him, right? Clear. Why would you be Photoshopping people out of pictures? Look at the background and the person Photoshopped out. Same photo, 2 different memorials. Same photo, 2 different memorials. Same photo, 2 different memorials.
Holy cow!
Right?
Look at how small is his mother compared to him in that picture. I'm assuming that was his mother.
Again, same thing. Boom, boom. Now I've had people say to me, "Well, maybe they photoshopped people out because they don't want them in the people with the victims, and it's a sensitivity thing." I'm going to show you pictures where they just photoshopped items out and not people, just to make it look like it was 2 different authentic photos. So this is the photo record of these people, the memorials. This would be like, say, the CNN memorial, and this would be the Voices of September 11th memorial. Same thing. CNN, Voices of September. I don't know which is which for exactly every victim, but that's what it is. And they're all, look at this. This is all photo fakery. Why would you do that? Why would you look at this one? Why would you take out the chandelier to then take this image and put it in another line? It's like they're trying to build up like these people had an extensive, amount of photographs, but in reality, it's one photograph of all these people.
No doubt, no doubt.
Look at this. Is that wild, dude? This is what you see in the memorials.
Yeah, there would be no reason to have to do all that.
Over and over, dude. We could do this all day.
Great day.
Yeah. So so my take on 9/11, complete media hoax. They want you to say inside job. They want you to blame all these other rabbit trails. It's just like the thing that's been going on the last 3 years. There is nothing real about it. Now, real shit happened after the people got jabbed up. People went to war over 9/11. That was all by consent, though, right? Done deceitfully. People were fooled, and it's not cool at all. But anybody that signed up for war or anybody that got the jab, they consented for it, and that's how this works. And you don't really kill people in these events because you're never going to get people to participate. They think long term. You don't. They want to keep the thing going. And again, no whistleblowers, no real families come after you. Complete control of the situation. Like we're going to get into the moon landing in a minute, but and we all know it doesn't stop at the moon landing with NASA, right? Once you fake it, it's not. You're not going to start to see it go real. It's fake all the way, man.
Yeah.
It's fake all the way, baby. You know, so after 9/11, and I did the 9/11 really heavy from about 2010 to 2014, like you guys see me do now, but I was doing podcasts, no video. I watched stuff on YouTube, you know, but I never wanted to go on there because I knew what the censorship was going to be like for what I was talking about. So I always wanted to do it through my website. But of course, I wasn't a one topic guy. I want to look at other things.
Mhm.
And in 2011, one of the guys in my, I guess you could call it my little circle, you know, there weren't too many of us that were talking about the media fakery on 9/11. He was like, hey, you want to see something, you got to really take a look at the moon landing.
Yeah.
I said, oh, really? All right. I'll have a look at the moon landing. And you can find it on my, is it on my channel? It might be on my channel. It's definitely on my website. I did a show in 2011 debunking Apollo and all the ridiculous of it. And of course, there's things in there I didn't understand yet. Like I still thought that the moon was as far away as they said, and we lived on a spinning ball in space and all that. But I got to that pretty quickly after that. But with the moon landing, that's like the easiest one. That is like the litmus test of if somebody can even open their eyes at all. Because if you can just sit down and I don't think there's too many people in your chat that believe the moon landing, but if somebody strolls in, you know, if you're honest with yourself and you sit down and literally just go through the videos and the photographs and all the issues with it on the lunar surface, you'll find that it's a complete joke and it shouldn't take you more than a weekend. But you know what it was for me? And I saw the stuff other people saw, you know, like a funny thing happened on the way to the moon, all those type of things. Some of the older stuff even before that. And what I saw that really helped me, and think about what I just laid out for 9/11, right? By the time 2011 came, I had already seen all the stuff I've just presented to you. You could only imagine when I looked at the moon landing how quickly I laughed at it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's just no way. But there was a video I saw, which, by the way, is a Mandella effect, which is very interesting. It used to be called Dark Mission 1 and Dark Mission 2. That title of that actually got Mandela affected to what really happened on the dark side of the moon or some shit like that. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy because it's a big part of my awakening, and I've talked about this before. But the part 2, go ahead.
Is that the one where they, you know, okay, because I was down this line at first when I first came onto the moon landing thing. I was like, okay, what we saw was not the real moon mission. The real moon mission was secret, and they, you know, had these other missions that we didn't know about. You know, I was still onto the thing that they just didn't let us see the real, what they found. That's where I first started at. You know, is that kind of the thing that was about?
No, not at all. I wouldn't buy any of that shit. I mean, once I already knew 9/11 was a hoax. I had no reason to trust NASA, just hadn't looked yet. Take a look at the moon landing. Okay, I see the visual stuff. Shadows going the wrong way, the lighting issues, repeating backgrounds, all this shit, right? It's fucking trash. The idea of how they got there, you know, the distances and the fuel that they said that they used, before I even thought of ideas like, you know, a vacuum in space and all, a rocket in the vacuum of space and all that. I wasn't quite there yet. But you know, then it was the second video of this documentary that I watched. It was so well put together. It was about all the technical impossibilities of these guys really went to the moon, the spacesuits, all of that type of shit. And that's what made me really like, yeah, dude, this is just, it's so ridiculous that people would just buy into it. But, you know, people don't even think at all. So then it was, it's not like Paul was a huge thing, but dude, I didn't spend more than a weekend on it. I did a couple shows on it, but it's not something I needed to spend too much time on, really, you know. Where do you really go after you see that it's fucking fake, you know? But where I went is, while I'm still doing the 9/11, I know Apollo's fake. What else is NASA lying about, right? Because there were no planes on 9/11, but it didn't end there. Okay, the moon landing's fake. What else you got? And then I'm looking into satellites in space, you know?
Yeah.
By 2013, I knew that was complete bullshit. And then I started looking into the ISS. Then I realized that was complete bullshit. And then in the middle of 2014, which is interesting because, you know, the Flat Earth Awakening, for a lot of people, they saw it blow up on YouTube in 2015. And they think the disinformation started then too, but it didn't. It started way earlier. Mm-hmm. So in 2014, I saw a video, but the video actually came out in 2010. So it had been on YouTube for 4 years already. And it was called Things They Don't Want You to Know is the name of the channel. And it has every conspiracy you could imagine in like a 3 or 5 minute video. And they're all packed with disinformation, you know. So this one was like flat Earth, you know, things they don't want you to know, flat Earth. So I click on it. And it's like right at the beginning. So in this video, it has the disc going upwards. It's got the fucking sun going underneath it. It's got water going off over it's all this shit, right? All this shit. But in the beginning of it, they're doing a spacewalk, right? And they're showing the spacewalk footage, and they're like, flat earthers, they think all of NASA's imagery is fake. And I know photos can be fake, but to think all their imagery is fake. And right there, it was just like, wait a minute. The fucking moon imagery is fake. Why wouldn't all their fucking imagery be fake? You know? So at that time, though, there was nothing to really poke around at. There were no videos. There were no documentaries. The only guy on YouTube that people probably know is Matt Powerland, but he had a couple videos. They weren't really concise. His photo or painting one was good, but I already understood that, you know? But then a couple things came out about flight routes in the Southern Hemisphere and about the GPS issues in the Southern Hemisphere. They weren't specifically flat Earth videos yet. So then I was, you know, starting to look into it a little more. I was still looking at the fake events, though, at the time, fake shootings and whatnot. Definitely probably for another year or two. I was still doing that. I hadn't really burnt out on it yet. And then in December of 2014, I was on this show, Out of the Darkness and Into the Light. The show is still on my website in the archive. And this guy came on, and dude, he started mentioning flat Earth to me, and he had actually known for 10 years already. This was 2014, so he had known since 2004. So we got into a whole conversation about it for a little bit, and then after that, I got really, you know, I got really into that for probably like a year or two. Got to see all the disinformation roll out. I was there to see, you know, Neil deGrasse Tyson drop the mic and all this dumb shit that they did. But, you know, it comes down to this. The people that want to promote the globe are promoting something that we don't experience, right? Like, I don't experience the motion of the earth because it's not moving. You know what I mean?
Right.
So they need to really prove that to me. And I don't have blind faith in their science anymore. So I think this flawed. So of course, the globe's fake. It's a lie. Okay. And they don't have any proof. But I also think that sometimes people on the other side of the equation present things that are really inconclusive around proofs either. So I stick to a few things that I know for a fucking fact.
Right.
Okay. You want to know what my biggest proof is that we don't live on a ball? We'll talk about it right now. And that to me is obviously everything to do with fucking airplanes and flying, and especially north-south. It's just absolutely absurd. Globies want to have it every way that they want to have the spin of the earth every way they want. They want to have Coriolis when there's a sniper, but there's no Coriolis under your plane because the atmosphere is being fucking dragged along with the earth. So if the atmosphere is being dragged along with the earth, you're going to tell me that for me to fly fucking west, my airplane has to overcompensate and work an extra harder to cover that 700 mile an hour spin when I go to California and do its 500 mile an hour to make up for it? It's completely absurd, dude. The earth isn't fucking spinning.
Yep.
You're not fucking falling backwards. These things aren't fucking trillions of miles away. The moon isn't 237,000 miles away, because if it was, you wouldn't be able to see detail on it with the naked eye. Who the fuck do you think you are, Superman? Like, seriously, get with the program. Take a telescope to the beach. Do you still believe your telescope sees fucking trillions of miles into outer space? Or do you think it's possible they lied to you about where everything is? Everything's local. Everything's here for us. Everything circles above us, and it's been coming back every fucking year. They'll tell you bullshit like the North Star fucking changes every fucking 14,000 years or whatever, and it used to be too big and all this shit. All stuff that you'll never observe. Okay? Right. It's nonsense. All right. What they've told us about gravity is fucking nonsense. Now, I will say this, you know, there is a fair question on if there is just buoyancy and density, or is there a downward force? But a downward force is not the gravity model that they've presented us. If that's what's happening, show me mass attracting mass. You can show me something fall to the floor, sure. I can also show you gas rise because it's fucking not as dense as the fucking medium that it's sitting in. So, you know, but what I know is you can go out, dude, and you can see way too far. Okay. Yep. So whether the curvature formula is accurate or not, it's dead on, whether it's supposed to be for a fucking parabola and it's only accurate up to 1,000 feet, have the argument any way you want. 1,000 miles. We're going way under that. This stuff you can see that you should not be able to see at all. Many cases, we don't have to get into all the specifics, but it's completely ridiculous.
Yep.
Okay? Completely fucking ridiculous, dude. It goes completely against your senses. And if you want to know why I think that they did it, obviously there's tons of motives. The number one motive, in my opinion, probably, is it's a complete corruption of your senses. Because if they can convince you that you're spinning, you don't feel it, that this is happening, it's complete opposite. It looks like the sun's fucking going across the sky, but it's really you that's fucking spinning and going around the sun and all this. They'll convince you of anything. You'll just think people smart enough to figure it out. Hey, where's my mask? Can I put it on now? Because the scientists say I'm going to die if somebody breathes on me. It preps you for all the lies. And then, of course, there's the other ideas. More land and more resources. And they're obviously hiding creation. You know, they obviously have an agenda against that. That's one of the biggest factors of it, you know. They hate the idea that this place is not just an accident and that we're significant. They hate that idea. And they want you to think that when you're done here, you're just dead and you're in the fucking dirt and there's no significance to you. And I'm not fucking down with that. Okay. So everything about airplanes completely crushes the fucking globe, especially if you fly north-south. You land on north-south runway. The Earth, you can't have the Earth spinning it. So they want to make an argument for west to east flights. Well, okay, well, the Earth supposedly spins west to east. What about when I'm not going into it or with it, and you're going to say it's going to drag my plane? What about when I'm fucking cutting through it and that Earth's coming this way, you know? Or one of the things you'll hear them say a lot is, oh, well, these flat earthers, they talk about the Earth spinning 1,000 miles an hour when it's really just one revolution a day. It's 15 degrees an hour. It's you know, you got to measure it in RPMs. You can measure it in RPMs, tangential velocity, wherever the fuck you want to measure it in. If I'm up in a plane, that ground, if I'm at the equator, is covering 1,000 fucking miles. It's going to cover that 1,000 miles in an hour. You know what I mean? You call it whatever you want.
Well, that's the thing that gets me too, is when they start going on about this Coriolis effect. And, you know, listen, I've been shooting long range and short range since I was able to pick up a gun. Okay. I was born an ammosexual. And I will tell you this right now. I half the time don't even know which direction or pay attention to which direction I'm even shooting when I'm shooting. And I sure as hell ain't never took into account the spin of the Earth. I mean, that's so dumb. And like you said, it's to get you to not trust what you feel or what you know or what you can inherently know. And there again, part of the thing that made me suspect in the first place was methinks the lady doth protest too much. I mean, if I went outside and told you, I said, hey, you know, the sky is tartan plaid, you know, and how long would you fucking argue with me about it? None, because it's obvious, right? So what they've gotten is from a young age, just like when they tell you about Santa Claus, all these things that you can't really check on. You have to rely on an appeal to authority to make it true, you see? And it's just like that. Oh, well, mathematics tells us this is why you don't feel it. And all this other, you can't trust your senses. Scientists know better than you. And so you've got this inherent idea that an appeal to authority, and there again, screamed the word science enough times, and that makes it a fact, I guess. You know, so you're definitely onto something with that, man. It's I think, in my opinion, the globe lie is the foundational deception on which the rest of the deceptions are able to be built. Because if I can make you believe that ridiculous shit, well, I can make you believe anything. The right imagery, whatever. Yeah. I mean, like even 9/11, we all watched 9/11 essentially with blinders on. We only saw what they showed us, most of us, and then relied on what we thought were regular people on the ground relaying information through the guy with the blinders. You know, it's just like, come on.
Yeah. So, you know, when I was more into it in like, you know, 2015, 2016, even 2017, you know, I did a couple debates, but there's no point in me doing shit like that now. You know, like these people, if you're going to debate somebody, here's the thing, right? If you can debate people on other topics, maybe, you know, but if you're going to debate somebody that all they're going to do is repeat what the system has always told them, that you could just Google and get what they're going to say, there's fucking absolutely no point in it, you know? So I don't do that. And then, of course, my interest shifted a lot around that time. You know, I got hit with the Mandela effect shortly after I started looking into the flat Earth stuff. Probably just a few months. Kind of, it was Berenstein at first. Berenstain kind of. I realized what the deal was, but I didn't really pay too much attention for about maybe several more months or closer to a year. And then I started to really realize the significance of it and see some of the bigger changes. Anything? I do want to grab a beer and use the bathroom real quick. Is that cool?
Sure, go right ahead. Go right ahead. I'm going to address some of the chats here and stuff. Take your time.
Yeah, so it looks like we're about to get into the Mandela effect, but if there's anything you want to ask me about flat Earth and NASA or anything, I don't want to gloss over it, so just let me know.
It's all. And if we think of anything or I run across any questions, it's like I've said on this show before. It's I believe one of the paramount lies. They tell you everything is always either too big, so you can't check for yourself, so you have to rely on somebody else. Even like with Santa Claus, he lives at the North Pole, so you can't check. It's too big. It's too far away. Little microscopic things that fly around in the air that you can't see. Only scientists can see those, and they fly around, and all of a sudden they become active at certain times of the year and make people feel bad. It's this thing where they've got you by the mind. They absolutely. So I think we've had a few more people come up in the chat here tonight. We've got ZXL Master. He's going to be a smart ass and hit me up with all of the buzzwords that require one to hit the bong, and we're getting ready to go on to that. But there again, like we've had people on here. That's interesting what he says about the buoyancy and density. I think it's definitely an electrostatic function, incoherent electrostatic acceleration with buoyancy and density sorting it all pretty much out. We've seen this demonstrated with the addition of a positive or negative charge to an object and causing it to either levitate or drop back to the earth. Whereas the idea of mass attracting mass, I mean, come on, that's the best you got is from a 19th century guy that put balls in a shed and hung them up. Come on, man, that's just insane. I mean, you would figure they would get onto that method. And if they were real serious about, hey, we need to find cleaner ways of energy, and why are they not pursuing the obvious fact that we have energy that we can harness right in our own atmosphere?
Dave, they tell you that they figured out the fucking circumference of the earth by some guy in ancient Greece sticking two sticks in the ground and looking at the shadows.
Look, I took a flashlight and a couple of my wife's hairspray cans, and I set them up in my kitchen, and I turned off the lights and proved that my kitchen's a sphere. They do the same thing on a flat floor is what's so funny. I mean, and here's the funny thing about Eratosthenes, is that none of his contemporaries for such an outstanding achievement is
they
don't even mention him. I mean, there's no talk of him or nothing. And his assistant feces.
Yeah, and basically every argument from the globe side comes off this presupposed notion that we're on a sphere already. It's absurd, dude. Especially when it goes against observation. The most basic observation, everything they're saying goes against it. So why is it such a big deal that we're asking for proof? Like what you're saying is kind of crazy. Now that we got our eyes open and we're thinking about things, this idea that we're spinning and there's people stuck to the underside of a ball and all that, and it's absurd,
Well, it was my first question when he told me that. And you think about it now this is the thing that fascinates me. And I've been looking into this for a long time. One of my favorite people, Renee Bernays, she knows she's into this too, is I like to study how people's minds are controlled, different methods that they've used, like how advertising works, subliminals, things like that. And so this absolutely fascinates me, that how they can get people to believe that, because one of the first things I wondered, they had a globe, of course, right there in the kindergarten room. We weren't learning world geography, and now I know what it was for. So you'll go over and spin it around and ask about it. Yeah. And what, of course, they're going to tell you, well, you live here. Well, my first thing is, I was going, wait a second, you mean this thing's spinning around and it's not trying to throw me off? I mean, I just came in from the playground on a thing that as soon as it spun around, that thing tried to throw me off, and the fat kids got thrown off first.
Yeah.
So they really tried to push me hard on that, and they got angry at me, and they tried the old swing a bucket around with water in it. See, and I was like, yeah, but where's the bottom of the bucket? They were like, oh, you're just never going to get it. So I just swallowed it up and assumed that thing, like everybody else is, that greater men than me figured it all out. But it still never made any damn sense to me. And then as I started to look at it, with different eyes, as like what happened to you, you grow up taking this shit for granted, but then you start to question it. And that's when it starts to open up the doors. And I think it took, well, of course I was always, looking into the Kennedy assassination shit since I was a kid. Because I'd heard a lot of scuttlebutt around the house about it. My dad wasn't fully on board with the Oswald thing. And I was born just a couple of years after that happened, 2 years after that event happened. And, so I heard a lot about it and I read a lot about it. So I was really into that. And I was already under the idea that elements within our government are what control the actual, what we think is government. There's shadowy people doing shit, And so that wasn't hard for me to understand that. That wasn't hard for me to pick that up. But then the magnitude of it actually being almost that the whole thing is basically nothing more than a fucking Hollywood production, like Wag the Dog.
Of course.
Wag the Dog, that movie really shows you.
And you see, and again, it's all the same, only the names have changed, right? JFK, complete production, but they want you to think second shooter, grassy knoll, just like the Judy Wood and all this other shit.
Yep.
Wuhan lab leak,
And it's interesting that event, and then subsequently the moon landing, is where the CIA ramped up and used the weaponized term conspiracy theorist.
Yeah.
That brings up a negative connotation.
Oh, they know how easily people take these labels and how it works very well for them.
Yeah. And, I can remember, as being an innocence of kids, I was pretty aware at a very young age. And I can remember President Johnson on TV. I can remember him being on TV, and I would see him, and I was afraid of him. I didn't know what he was really talking about or anything, but just the image of him frightened me. And I remember I told my mom, I said, he's a bad man. And my mom just looked at me and she goes, no, honey, he's the president of the United States. And I said, but he's a bad man. And then years later, I start to figure out why I could see that in him, And so that wasn't a hard thing for me to understand, to get the idea that the government would be pulling shit over your face all the time and the media being complicit, because hell, I grew up in the Watergate times. I saw a historical event. I watched Richard Nixon resign from office, and it was like, wow, this thing's really gone to shit from what they teach us in school. I wasn't disillusioned. So it was just more, I think what really got me is how much I thought, okay, so they pull down some buildings and kill a whole bunch of people, but then that throws a whole nother dynamic into it, to where they pulled down some buildings and made you think they killed a bunch of people. It's like,
yeah,
and like, again, I reference that movie, but Wag the Dog. It is you got to watch that and think about, this is possible. This is, in fact, not only possible,
man, everybody has. They built a makeshift hospital in my hometown and never had one fucking COVID patient.
No shit.
So you know what I mean? This is nothing. It's a drop in the bucket for them to pull this shit off, and they love to. It's how they get their jollies, and I do think it's some sort of you want to call it cosmic law or whatever, dude. Where they will absolutely trick you and get you to do things to yourself. But these things are by consent. I mean, even the things even if you think that they're slow killing people, and I do think they don't want people healthy, absolutely. But I don't think they're trying to exterminate people like a lot of people think. We're running the system for them beautifully. We keep them in the cozy little whatever they got going on. Totally, dude. Their goal isn't to eliminate us. Their goal is to control us and keep the gig going. And that's why you hoax these things. Again, no real whistleblowers, no real families, no real victims, no real investigations, no. Here's the big thing. Let's just say let's just say I'm running 9/11, right? Because the guy in the chat said I was the Mossad, right? So
Yeah.
I'm the Mossad agent running 9/11, and you're one of my cops on the street or whatever it is, and I have you plant the bomb somewhere, and people in the towers die, and a couple of years goes by, and you really start to have that weighing on you, man.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna come out and talk to people. Maybe not you, but somebody's gonna. They're not gonna put people in that situation at all. They don't need to. They control the media. That's
Right.
it. They control the media 100%. Whoever they is, it's not the government. They control the media, and the media controls the people. That's it, dude. When COVID's going on, man, they're literally telling you they're gonna have mobile morgues driving up the street, and there's bodies in the street, all this shit, and people believe it, even though they don't see it at all anywhere ever.
That's what amazed me. That's what got me, because like I said before, when I was watching those death numbers, and they made sure to be constantly blasting that at you, and I was like, I was already on to the whole psyop thing. I said, look at how they're doing that. Look at that. Look at that. And I would tell people, I say, now, don't you think that you would see in reality what they're showing you on there, and you're not? I mean, there should be at least an ambulance every half hour rolling up my road to go get somebody. And it ain't, I said, so you have to ask yourself, what are you thinking? It just hasn't hit your area yet or something, but they want to believe that. And I believe we already know, I've showed on here a long time ago, might do another one on it. And it was on subliminals. Back in the day when we only had like 3 channels, the TV station shut off at like midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, and they would do a sign off and to have the national anthem, like you were going to have some kind of a patriotic moment at midnight right before bed, right? Anyway, the thing would come up and play the national anthem and show scenes of America and the Statue of Liberty and shit. And it just the instrumental, but the words would come up at the bottom of the screen, right? Like, I guess they expected you were going to sing the song at home. But when you slow that way down and watch during the transition between verses, you see messages like obey government, pay your taxes, rebellion will not be tolerated, government is God, trust in God. And it's like this message over and over as they transition the lyrics to this national anthem. So they were running this back in the early 70s, late 60s. And of course, probably long before that. We know television was patented as a mind control device. That's what it was actually patented for in the first place. So now what can they do through this 4K, the more realistic something is? And that's what kind of brings me into this Mandela effect thing, was what I want to get into with that, because I do believe that this imagery and illusion through imagery is one of the things involved with this, some of these things. And I'm going to let you go ahead and start with some of the stuff if you'd like to, unless you got more to go on about the other. Because I was going to go use the restroom myself real quick. And
okay, yeah. I'm just gonna fix my camera and then I can start.
Yeah, I was gonna say you shrunk, man.
Yeah, no, I finally got a tripod finally for behind my desk, because people would always see my camera shake because my desk is adjustable, so it has like some give. So I wanted to hit the camera off the monitor and on a stand. So now I got a tripod, but now when I lower the desk, I gotta get up and lower the camera.
I got you.
Yeah.
You've got a really great presentation on some of this stuff. I'm going to give it to you for a minute. I'm going to go use the bathroom. I can still hear you. Go take it away.
Yeah. I'm going to shut my camera off too. So anybody that doesn't know, first, I'll just tell you where you can find me. I'm on YouTube with multiple channels. They keep terminating them as well. So Brian S. Staveley, though, is the main channel on YouTube. Rockfin, Rumble, Twitch, Facebook, everywhere. That's the main channel. Brian S. Staveley. Okay. But if you go to doseofrealityshow.com, I have my links page, and you can find everything else you need from me: email, social media, whatever it is. Yeah. So in early 2015, maybe very late 2014, I was first shown a meme by a friend that was about the Berenstain Bears being the Berenstain Bears now in this reality. And well, I kind of got it right away. I'm pretty quick to get these things, you know. Like I wasn't one of those people that was triggered when people were bringing up these ideas. Like I can see that when there's something there. And I knew, I was actually one of those people that actually did have Berenstain Bears books when I was growing up. The person that sent me the meme was a smart guy that I know that, briefly explained to me what it was, what the Mandela effect idea was. And I did recognize that was a change of some sort, but the significance of the whole thing it took a little bit for me even to see it. And again, I had just started looking into the deception of the globe on getting really into the nuts and bolts of it. So this kind of got put to the side a little bit, just for several months. And then what had happened is I got hit with two really big things, almost back to back. And that was the JFK assassination, which we were just talking about. And that was the geography changes, two in particular. And those two in particular were South America and Cuba. Now, the geography ones really, really made me realize that this Mandela effect is something significant. Because before we even talk about geography changes with the Mandela effect, let me tell you, I know that NASA's imagery is fake. Obviously, we talked about that. I know that there's different map projections and maps are made for different reasons, and Google Earth is fake and all of this shit, right? But when we talk about geography changes, I want you to think about something. Because if you agree with having the memory of what I do, and if you go to try and find an old map or globe or whatever it is, depicting it the way in which we both remember, you're not going to be able to find that, even on the one in your own house. So I know that 90% of the people in here know me and know what we're about to get into, but there's definitely some other faces that don't. So I'm going to present it as if nobody knows. So I'm going to ask a couple questions, and I want everybody in the chat to answer. And no matter who you are, I want you to answer what you always remembered it to be. So you know where I'm going. If you are aware of these changes, put what you always remembered it to be. And, we're going to see that, most times it's going to match people that haven't heard this before. But if I was to ask you in the chat, where in relation to North America was South America, what would you say? And this rocked my world, Dave. This is huge.
Me too. I know exactly what you're talking about. This one messed me up too.
Well, this is one of the biggest Mandela effects ever, and this is one of the ones that answers that question really. Like, when's there going to be that huge, biggest Mandela effect that the whole world's going to wake up? But that's never going to happen, dude. We've already seen ones that are that big, so we'll just get right into it. I remember South America being underneath North America.
Yes.
Now, if I have to ask you, people, what direction the Panama Canal ran, what would you say? This is mind-boggling to me. So now in this reality, South America is way over to the right. So far over to the right that the west coast of South America now lines up with the east coast of North America. Okay? And because it shifted so far over, Central America no longer connects to the top. It connects to the west side of South America, and the canal is like this. It's like northeast, southwest. It's almost north and south. So
it's bigger too. It's bigger. I think South America is bigger in this reality. I mean, or whatever's going on. Not only has it moved over east, like you're saying, but it seems like it's much bigger. It used to be pretty comparable in size to North America, as I remember.
Yeah. So here's the thing. If you do remember, South America under North America, and the Panama Canal being east and west. And I'm going to throw one more at you before I put the challenge out there, people. There's plenty of geography changes, but I just stick with my strongest, and it's these two. If I would ask you people to describe what it looks like and describe its location in relation to Florida, what would you say about Cuba? Where is Cuba in relation to Florida, and how would you describe Cuba? Because for me, Cuba, and I'll give the chat a second to think about it. Okay, so I want you to think about Florida, Cuba. What does Cuba look like in your mind? And I'll just tell you what I remember, because what I remember clearly is Cuba was a very small island, and it was to the southeast of Florida. But now in this reality, Cuba is literally as big as Florida, except on its side. And it's not only just southeast of Florida anymore, it's also southwest, a whole part of it, and it's almost connected to Mexico. Now, again, here's the thing. So if you remember what we remember, and if you don't, you don't. We're not all affected by all the same ones, but we are by almost all of them. If you remember South America under North America, if you remember the Panama Canal east and west, and you remember Cuba being a small island to the southeast of Florida, guess what? You're experiencing the Mandela effect. Now, here's the thing. You can say, well, they changed the maps. They lie to you. So then prove it. So then just go. And we've done this. And I've done this at a family gathering, 2019. They went to the basement. They got the globe out of the basement that had been there for 30 years. You can go and check your own, and you're going to look at it. And Panama Canal is going to be northeast, southwest. South America is going to be way over to the east. And Cuba is not going to be a small island. It's going to be as big as Florida, laying on its side and almost touching Mexico. All on all old maps and globes and everything else. And if you went back to the schools, you looked at it every day on the board, it's going to be changed on there as well. So it has nothing to do with people manipulating images online or anything. Of course, that's manipulated. Of course, Google Earth and all that is fake to a point. You know, obviously they have some real street view stuff and low altitude drones or whatever like that. But obviously the stuff from alleged space and all that's complete fucking nonsense. We don't want to trust in that. But I'm saying you can check any physical representations you have. But what will remain? Well, many things will remain. People's drawings of these things will remain. In fact, there's one video I did. There was a contest that a museum had, and it was like a weird contest, but they wanted people on one shot to draw a map of the world off memory and send it in, right? So all these people send these really crude, they are crude drawings, but here's the thing. About 96 out of the 100 of them drew South America right under North America and the Panama Canal east and west. You know?
That gets me. I'm looking. I was just going through these some of these various maps I have, and like here's an air map from 1945. I've got.
Oh, I see. Somebody says in the chat, Tinfoil Hatter says maps are totally off the table. Too unverifiable. Dog. How are they more unverifiable than anything else that would have been in our possessions? I say it's more verifiable because we looked at that world map way more than I listened to Forrest Gump or something like that. We looked at it all the time. So it has nothing to do with it being if they fake the maps or not. That doesn't even come into the equation.
Right. It's because even on, I mean, that's something you look at all the time. You saw it all the time in school. Of course, I don't know what schools are like now, but there was always a world map in at least one or two of your classrooms.
You look at it every day, Dave. Every goddamn day, dude.
And I've been fascinated by maps ever since I was a little kid. You know, I have all kinds of maps. I have, 1800s maps and shit like that from the Civil War and, all these different ones. So it really I've always been interested in cartography. And that's why like that 1587 map that shows, Antarctica with flora and fauna and cities and shit. And I'm like, wait a second. That's 1587. Now you look at North America and there's no Great Lakes. And I'm like, hold on a second, what's going on? How does a cartographer, put in a towns and cities, but there's no Great Lakes? I mean, what occurred? Something, I have to look at it. So, I know that when I've looked at world maps, I've always prided myself on knowing where things are geographically. But then when this was pointed out to me, I'm like, wait a second, that's bullshit. And then I look and here's South America dwarfing North America. I mean, just completely dwarfing it and way over to the east. That's not anything close to what I remember. Not even close. And even like what you say, Cuba. Cuba was still fresh in the minds of many when I was a kid because, it was still the late 60s, early 70s. And I can remember seeing it on maps and newspapers and shit. And it wasn't like that. It was much smaller.
No.
And
again, if the shit was just changed to run a psyop on us after the fact, then where are all the old maps and globes that have it the way we remember? You can't find any.
Yep, that's what I'm saying.
You can't find any of them. So, and again, looking at some comments in chat about Africa, how big, depending on which map, Yeah, I get that. And I get that Greenland's different on different maps. But on all of them right now, all the projections and all the globes, South America and Cuba are different than they were. And that includes stuff that's been in my family's homes for decades, with zero exception. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like this mixed mush of globes that have it different, and I know the globe's fake. We just talked about that for a half hour or whatever.
Because see, here's the Gleason's map, that's 19th century, and it's changed on that.
Yes, I've talked about this. Absolutely. Even on the flat Earth maps.
It's almost for lack of a better term, and really quite accurately, these things that are occurring, not just with the geography, but other things that we're noticing, movies, books, primarily the scriptures. It appears to be a supernatural thing that's occurring, and now let's get straight. A lot of people, they go, ooh, when you say supernatural, it merely means it's something we really don't understand how it's occurring. If you were to take your little cell phone back to the 1500s, they would say that definitely, most certainly was a supernatural device, probably burn you for witchcraft or something. Oh, and that's another thing. They didn't burn people anymore. They hanged them. So,
at least in Salem, the Salem witch trials, now they never burned the witches. They drowned them. Hung them and drowned them or something. Yeah, they never burned them. Yeah. So, before we go forward into too many changes, though, let's pump the brakes a little for people that might not, because I see you got some people that either don't understand the Mandela effect or are deniers in the chat. Maybe a combination of both. Here's the thing, and I'm not calling everybody that doesn't agree with every effect a denier. When I say somebody that denies it, I mean they deny outright that changes are happening and it's all just some sort of psyop. That idea is fucking ridiculous. So let's talk about what a Mandela effect is. My definition, okay? My definition of a Mandela effect is when something in this reality shifts into a different state retroactively all the way back to its origin point, okay? So if you have let's do something simple, okay? We're talking about maps a minute ago. We were talking about not too much other things yet. But let's just talk about like a movie, for instance, right? So a good example is Snow White. It's a terrific example. This is a top 5 Mandela effect. This is like 100%er if you approach people. So if I would ask you what the witch says in Snow White when she looks in the mirror, what would you say? The famous quote from the Disney animated classic that so many of us grew up with. What's the famous quote that you always remembered it to be? Okay. So I already know what people are going to answer. I mean,
sure.
This is one of the ones where here's the thing with the Mandela effect too. It's not like we're this small percentage of people. Literally everybody's affected by this, just whether they realize it or admit it or not.
Mm-hmm.
If I went to a grocery store and I locked the doors on 100 adults and I locked the doors of the grocery store, and I could ask 100 random people the same question I just asked you, they would all say, maybe there'd be one exception or two, but over 95% would say, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's a Mandela effect.
Mm-hmm.
That the movie has never said that now. And it's always said magic mirror on the wall. So what does it mean when that's a Mandela effect? That means if you go home and you pull out your Disney animated movie and you put it in, no matter how fucking old it is, no matter how long it's been sitting in your house, I'm not saying go to Netflix. I'm not saying download it online. I'm saying put the hard copy in that you've always had that said mirror, mirror, and it's going to say magic mirror.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm talking about. No matter how old, it's changed all of it. But what remains is what the websites that talk about the Mandela effect never address, is the residue. It's all the physical evidence that corroborates that official thing that has changed. So, for instance, all the merchandise that says mirror, mirror, all the T-shirts, all the different times it's quoted by people and put in different songs, even Disney themselves making live action movies about Snow White, calling it mirror, mirror on the wall, on and on and on. How about this? That movie, you know, obviously gigantic. That movie, Walt Disney himself, it was his first major release animated color animated film. Walt Disney himself in the 1950s on tape, mirror, mirror on video, quote in mirror, mirror. Always been magic mirror in this reality. Now, what's the Mandela effect? Well, the Mandela effect, the official version changes, right? So that movie is actually dubbed over in many languages. And in the other languages that it's dubbed over in, at least German, Italian, Russian, I think French, we've checked a bunch of them. And I've covered the German one. In these other languages where it's dubbed over. So what's a dubbed over movie mean? Well, that means it's the original video track, but it's not the original audio track because it's somebody else narrating it in another language, right? And when that movie's narrated in those other languages, it says mirror, mirror on the wall still.
No, there's some residual here. This was sent by Renee Bernays. You may recognize her from the chat. This is out of a coloring book from Cinderella, and here we see it says mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? And this is wasn't there even a Disney sequel that they made to that, and they named it Mirror Mirror, if I'm not mistaken?
That's what I'm saying. It was a live action movie. I think it had Julia Roberts in 2012, and also they just did another movie called Disenchanted. Okay, and it's another live action movie. And it has Snow White characters, but other characters too from all their different movies, but with actors. And twice in that movie, they look in the mirror and she says, mirror, mirror on the wall. And we're supposed to throw away our entire memory, what we know by heart, what's been said over and over, and ignore all this evidence that corroborates our memory to just say, no, this isn't happening. It's just a psyop. I must just be losing my wits about me. Absolutely fucking not, dude. It was fucking mirror, mirror on the wall. But you check your own copy, it's going to say magic mirror. How do you explain that? That's not a psyop. That physical item has changed while it's sat in your house. And it gets much bigger. We were just talking about the land masses of the earth have moved.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't even get to the Bible yet. Don't worry. We're going to get there. You got to start with the little shit with people.
Yeah.
And the little shit is what all you need to check. Like I know top 3 Mandela effect probably worldwide is Mr. Rogers. Okay.
Oh,
now, let's talk about this, because this is such a big one. Because like, you could say, oh, well, you only saw this movie 2 or 3 times. How are you going to talk about if the quote changed? That doesn't mean reality shifted. Mr. Rogers is a show that me and damn near everybody I grew up with watched every day, 5 days a week for probably a decade. So the fact that we wouldn't know what the theme song is and we would all get the same exact wrong word in there is absurd. Every time he came through the door, he would say, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine?
Yep.
Would you be mine? Now when he comes through the door, he says it's a beautiful day in this neighborhood. And again, if you have any episode of Mr. Rogers recorded, pull it out and debunk me and show me that he says and they just changed it at some point. You can't, because you're full of shit. And you know it was a beautiful day in the neighborhood, just like you know inside it was mirror, mirror on the wall. And just like we're going to get to some other really big popular ones, you're going to know. You're going to have the same memory as me, but you're still going to want to keep denying because Brian's breaking your precious reality. I'm not doing anything. I'm just making people aware of what's been taking place. And honestly, dude, where are the rest of the people on this? Like, this is the biggest thing that's ever happened, in my opinion. Again, the land masses of the earth have moved.
Yeah.
Bible is being completely butchered supernaturally. The fucking engines. Let's talk about the engines. Let me
airplane engines. Yeah.
So everybody, I want you to picture in your head where the engines on airplanes would be in relation to the wings. Commercial airliners. This is a huge one for me, man. Because now, if you look at a commercial airliner, and of course, I know you probably said, Not everybody, but 90% of people are going to say, well, the engines are under the wings. Of course, Brian. Well, the engines are no longer under the wings in this reality. They've always been way forward of the wings, like almost hanging off the front of the wings, held on by like a little bracket. Like it's completely ridiculous. Completely ridiculous. There you go.
Like that. And Brian, I know that's bullshit too, because I have been into airplanes since I was a little kid. I've probably put together models of every aircraft that there is, and never once did I have one. If I'd put an engine on an airplane like that, where it's sticking out in front of the wing like that, that's in the wrong damn spot. Never once ever have I seen that kind of thing. That would be in one of them radial engine aircraft, like the old bombers. Of course, those stuck out from the wing a bit, but nothing like this. It was always underneath the wing. The other one that got me was those bears, that Berenstain Bears. I know that in Rogers, one year for Halloween, I had a cardigan sweater and I went as Mr. Rogers, and I practiced that character, boys and girls. And I practiced the song, "It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood." Yeah, and I did. And it was like I killed it. And I remember practicing that song so I could sound like him and do the mannerisms and everything. So I know that one's crap. And the Berenstain Bears, I know for sure, because I got a talking to about the Holocaust. Because in elementary school, I made a parody story. Well, just like a fan fiction story of the Berenstain Bears having to hide out in the Bavarian forest from Nazi wolves.
You know what? And this is the shit I'm talking about. People want to say mismemory. This is an anchor memory of how one of the reasons you remember the Berenstain Bears, this whole story you're telling right now. Okay, we aren't a bunch of people making shit up. Actually, people are trying to get the entire truth to, not the entire, but the large majority of the truth community is trying to gaslight us and trying to convince us that nothing's happening. It's like they are the blindest people ever, man. Wake up and smell the fucking roses here. Our reality is in flux. It's fluid, man. And some of this stuff it's so significant, man.
It is. I have to wonder if they're willingly blind at some point, because once you've pointed it out, and then they still want to go, and put into, oh, it's just a misremembrance. And it's like, I've even run into people and saying, yeah, but don't you remember it the other way? Yeah, but I must have just been mistaken. And it's like, well, how do you reconcile all of these different things that you remember one way and then they're another? Well, I just don't want to talk about it, or they'll just totally avoid the conversation at all.
And here's the thing, dude. While we're talking about all this other stuff, it's like I have so many people that want to like drag me back down and talking about all the fake shit and this reality, and it's like, and that had its place, and there has to be people that do that to wake other people up to it. And I certainly reflect back, and obviously when COVID started, I did a lot of stuff to show people to not live in fear, and if we get there, we can get there later. But like all of that is a fake presented reality, and now we're talking about, we're actually seeing what this reality is as a whole, and we're seeing proof of more being beyond this, more being beyond the physical realm. How are we going to ignore that? And there's so many changes, Dave. It's not like it's a couple things. I mean, it's literally like fucking everything. And the funny thing is, they know that there's bigger changes, but they'll always try and like pigeonhole us to the smaller ones and be like, well, who cares if a fucking S dropped off this word? And it's like, well, but you know about South America, and you know about these. They don't want to talk about Black Tom, which is my biggest Mandela effect.
Oh, that messed me up. You took me to that one, and I'm like, what in the hell is he talking about? Black Tom. And because I mean, I'm pretty big on history. I mean, a real bit. Well, what they tell us is history. And I don't remember anything about something that significant in our timeline at all regarding an explosion that blew out the windows in Manhattan. I mean, come on. I mean, I know about Lincoln. A lot of people don't know Lincoln shelled New York City during the draft riots, right? I know about that.
I got a new one for you. You might not know about them on top of it. So we'll start with Black Tom, right? So let me just preface it for people like this. So we can talk about Mr. Rogers, and I don't want to forget about Ed McMahon. I mean, that's just Yeah, we should probably touch that. Then we'll get into history. Remind me. All right, Ed. We're gonna do Ed. Then we'll get into Black Tom. All right, because Ed McMahon is probably the #1 Mandela effect. Like it's right.
God.
Him and Mr. Rogers. I mean, this is a whole thing because okay. First off, I don't know if you know this. Ed McMahon is literally from and grew up in my hometown, which, by the way, has a Mandela affected neighborhood and many other Mandela effects in it. I don't know if you know about my neighborhood change. You know about all that?
No, I don't. No.
You don't know about that, dude? In
No,
like
no,
2019, in like 2019, the name of my neighborhood changed. Mandela effect. I got a whole series of investigation on it, dude. It's really crazy. That's how a lot of people found me.
Wow. No.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that, but let's talk about Ed, who's from that same hometown, okay? So Ed McMahon, if I were to ask everybody, what do you remember Ed McMahon working? You know, besides, you know, the Tonight Show and Star Search, what was he famous for? And what was the name of that company? And so many people would say, well, you know, and before you answer that, not only what company, how about this? A sweepstakes company. He worked for a sweepstakes company. What was the name of it? Okay. And I want you to picture in your head, without me saying anything, what image of Ed McMahon comes to mind when you think of him with this sweepstakes company? So, did you say, well, Ed McMahon used to work for Publishers Clearinghouse?
Right.
And then if you think of the image, did you think, well, he used to deliver giant checks to people's doors with balloons?
Yes.
That's what I clearly remember. Publishers Clearinghouse. Now, in this reality, he's never had any affiliation with Publishers Clearinghouse, yet he worked for a different company called American Family Publishers. Now, not only would just about everybody you ask say Publishers Clearinghouse, and it's never been that in this reality. Here's the problem. This is where the denier goes wrong really quick. And I've seen it with a few people in the community, the so-called truth community that denies the Mandela effect, right? It's fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I had somebody tell me I was poisoning the truth well with that.
Yeah, they
were angry as shit at me about it too, but I don't care.
Yeah. So when I ask you the image you thought of Ed McMahon, did you think of a giant check and balloons like I did? If you did, here's the problem. You could say, well, maybe I mixed up the two companies. I've seen people try that. But where did you get the image of him going door to door with giant checks to the winners and balloons? Because he's never done that for either company in this reality. And talk about residue. So all day I could show you residue online, skits of people doing Ed McMahon dressing up like him for Halloween, giant checks, balloons. It's referenced in as many TV shows as you could imagine. He's even gone on the Roseanne show, rings the doorbell. He's there with a giant check, right? Johnny Carson goes on David Letterman one night. He says that he brings this giant check out, says to David Letterman as a joke, you know, you're the lucky winner, but our friend Ed McMahon couldn't be here tonight, but here's your check. On the check, it literally says Publishers Clearinghouse, the guy he worked with for 30 years. But on top of that, that's not enough for people. How about this? People said they want to hear it right from the horse's mouth. There's a rap video of Ed McMahon driving around. Ed McMahon, yes, like 90 years old, made a rap video for freecreditreport.com. He's driving around in a white van, looks just like the white prize patrol van for Publishers Clearinghouse. And he's rapping about how he needs to go back to people's doors and collect back the giant check that he gave him. And he literally, in the video, goes to the door and rings the doorbell and asks back for the giant check he gave him. But in this reality, he never gave anybody a giant check at the house.
See, that's such bullshit.
And we're crazy. And we're supposed to be crazy, and the ones denying this are the sane ones, right? Yeah, okay. The best part is, though, Dave, again, let's just remember, it's not like they don't remember what we remember. If that was their argument and that was true every time, I could see where they wouldn't be on board with this. But the point is, as the conversation progressed, they remember Publishers Clearinghouse. They remember the giant check and balloons, right? Yeah. But now when it's time to face the facts that reality's changing, they just roll right over, man.
And the reason I remember that too is sort of like because I used to crack people up with this whole idea. One of them commercials would be on, and I'd say something like, what the fuck are you supposed to do with that great big old check? Is can you see somebody walking into a bank with that big ass check and laying it up on the counter and say, "Here, I want to cash this"? Or, do you have to go to a great big huge bank for it to work? What if you only have the drive up tube? You're screwed until Monday, right? And so I really have a concrete memory of Ed McMahon. And I remember even making jokes like it's good that he's doing something other than being Johnny's yes man. Now, wasn't there a time that he did that with the guy from, I remember, it seems like I remember him doing that, going along, partnered up with the American Bandstand guy, Dick Clark.
Yeah, that's the new one. That's the new reality one. That's the AFB.
Okay, see, I don't even know. I've never even heard of that AFB. The only one I've ever heard of is Publishers Clearinghouse. And I remember they come, the little thing and come in a yellow envelope in your mailbox. Yeah,
with his face on it.
Yes. Yes, absolutely, man.
And the Publishers Clearinghouse house logo.
Right. And I would tell my mom, I say, you think it hurt you none to send that in? You could probably win, and she'd just throw it in the trash. And I couldn't understand it, man. I was like, you don't want that money, that big check?
In fact, just last year, after years of people talking about this Mandela effect, Publishers Clearinghouse decided to respond to a video of Moneybags and other people in the community and try and come out and debunk the Mandela effect and make it clear that Ed McMahon never worked for them, and it's always been this other guy, and this guy that they put in front of the camera, like he looks like he's possessed or something, dude. I'm like, this is fucking creepy, dude. They actually responded to the Mandela effect community with the video, dude. Publishers Clearinghouse did.
Wow.
Yeah, dude.
See, there again, it's like methinks the lady
and again, this is one this, like I talked about that flat earth debunk video that came out early. There's an article that came out in 2012 in Forbes magazine to try and debunk the Ed McMahon Mandela effect and tell everybody that they were misremembering and he never worked for Publishers Clearinghouse, way before this thing blew up on YouTube.
Yeah, see, I can't see that many people misremembering something like that. It'd be one. I mean, even in the other thing, what they're saying with the Dick Clark and whatnot. Now, there again, it seems like I have a memory of them two being together.
On Star Search, on Star Search they were together, and now in this reality on the AFP, but not for Publishers Clearinghouse.
Okay.
Neither one of them Publishers Clearinghouse.
So no, I mean, like I said, I've never heard of that AFB or whatever. I've always heard of the other one and always associated Ed McMahon with that. It'd be one thing if the other thing had a guy that looked sort of like Ed McMahon, and then you could go, well, yeah, maybe I am mixing those guys up, but I mean, come on, they're not even the same dude.
He's from my hometown. I'm not mixing shit up, dude.
Yeah, that's interesting. So your whole town changed.
By the neighborhood that I was living in last before I moved to North Carolina. And the thing that's really interesting about that is, so like I said, I've known about the Mandela effect since like early 2015 or so. Been doing content on it since 2018, probably as much content as anybody, as you guys know. I've been covering extensively, but after several months of already making videos, I hadn't had like a personal change yet. And my co-host at the time, Gloria, said, wait till you have a personal change. So, and this is a fascinating story, Dave. I mean, this is, you got to watch the playlist sometime. So one day I'm working with my boss. I'm working in a restaurant. He's driving. I had no license. As you know, I finally just cleared it up. This was more near the beginning of that whole phase. So he's driving. I'm in the passenger seat. We're going to the place called Top Donut. Okay. Come around the drive-through and I'm looking in the bag for the food or whatever. And I hear him go, Centralville, really confused because the neighborhood was Centerville. Okay. Now he's looking across the street at the stone monument that said Centerville Memorial Park. Okay. Well, now, so I look up to see what he's talking about because why is he saying Centralville? I look up and the fucking sign now says Centralville, stone monument, dude. So it was Centerville. Then the sign says Centralville. So right away, I'm like, holy fuck. Like I knew what was going on, but I can't tell my boss any of this. Like I can't. And I'm watching how fucking confused he lived in Lowell his whole life. The city's Lowell, the neighborhood Centerville.
Uh-huh.
He lived in Lowell his whole life, just like I did. Now all of a sudden he sees the name of the neighborhood on a sign, and he's fucking losing his mind. So I had to hold that in the whole day at work. I knew what was going on. Then I came home and I started running an investigation on this, right? Because this was like, dude, I live here. I'm the Mandela guy, or at least one of them. You know, I'm talking about it all the time. Ed McMahon's from here. We already know that's a Mandela effect. Now my neighborhood's going to change. So I done a series of videos, right? So first off, if you go and look, like you will find people that are selling their houses that live there on all the real estate sites and everything. So many people list them as in the neighborhood of Centerville. It's never been Centerville. It's always been Centralville now in this reality, right? So I started running documentation, all of this. There's businesses that surround the sign that say Centerville, but now say Centralville. I called them all on the phone and recorded it. I put it all in the air, right? The hardware store, the breakfast place, Top Donut, the pawn shop, and I would ask them what neighborhood they're in, right? Mm. And of course, they all told me Centerville, which has never existed, right? I fucking called City Hall, and I got City Hall to name the neighborhoods to me on video, or I recorded the audio, named like the 7 or 8 neighborhoods in Lowell. They told me Centerville. I called all the cab companies, right? The cab driver got real triggered when I said to him, you know, I'm trying to get over to like Bridge Street and Lakeview and visit my friend over there. I want to make sure I go to the right area. What's that neighborhood again? And they'd be like, Centerville. I'd be like, well, are you sure? Because my map and my GPS and everything else says Centralville. It's Centerville. There's even a place called the Centerville Social Club. It changed to Centralville. So I'm calling her on the phone and she's answering. Centerville Social Club. And when I'm trying to tell them that it's Centralville on the thing, like it's just like not registering at all, you know. I call liquor stores. So here's a crazy one, right? So that change from Centerville to Centralville was 4 years ago now, right? They still haven't taken the update. It's different than all these other Mandela. These people 4 years later, dude, they still think they live in Centerville. And not only, dude, so the official sites like Nextdoor and sites like that now, so they have the neighborhood, it'll be say what the map says, you know? They'll say Centralville because all the maps have changed. They all say Centralville instead of Centerville, right? But people be posting in those groups still and everything. Yeah, what's going on in Centerville tonight? The title of their group says Centralville now. They're still writing about Centerville. Here's one that'll blow your mind, right? So there's one dude I know, right? He posted a post about him when he was on the Centerville Royals in Little League, right? But his hat on his uniform in the picture, as we know could probably happen, said Centralville, right? I mean, on his, right? So I was really able to get his attention with that. I took an Uber one day. Talk about this synchronicity, right? I take an Uber from 2 towns away. A town called Baricker. I'm going to Lowell, but a lot of people that are from the area, when you say where you're going, you say the neighborhood. You know, Centerville, the Highlands, Pawtucketville. And, you know, she said, where are you going? I said, Centerville. You know where that is? She said, yeah. I said, all right. And then she started to tell me how she grew up there for 20 years or whatever, right? In Centerville. This is my Uber driver. I recorded this as well. It's all on video, people. I always record this shit. So I says to her, hey, you know what's a little funny? She said, what's that? I said, did you think it's weird that, like, you're from Centerville, I'm from Centerville, but, like, your GPS right there on your says Centralville and all the maps too. She's like, yeah, I noticed that too. That's really weird. I said, when did you first notice it? She said, when I was going through the closet and I looked at one of my son's old baseball jerseys. Isn't that crazy?
Wow. Wow. Yeah. See, that's what gets me is this is all like the retroactive nature of which it takes place. And I'm a kind of a person, I look for patterns, and I'm trying to decipher some kind of a patterns into the things that are changing. What kind of commonalities do these things have? You know, I'm wondering, is there some kind of a common aspect that each of these different things have that would reflect the reason that it's not just everything, it's just specific things, and not to a point where it's obnoxious to where it's just, hey, wait a minute, that's not the same as it used to be. You know, just kind of little innocuous changes you might not notice without careful examination.
Yeah, so I see somebody in chat, Jonathan Montero, says he's from New Bedford, Mass. It's got him interested. Yeah, there's more to the Centerville story. On top of it, since you're from Massachusetts, here's another Massachusetts change that ties into the JFK assassination in a way. So you ready? JFK, he's known for having his home getaway in Massachusetts in a place called Hyannisport, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Go look on any map now, Jonathan. Google it, whatever. Hyannisport is now 2 words in this reality and always has been. And that's happening to a lot of town locally and things like that. Hyannisport is now Hyannisport. I did a video on it a couple of years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. A lot of changes.
You know, one of the things I have noticed, but it doesn't, I don't know if I can actually connect it all the way, but there's something I think that, you know, how is this being done? Right. And I'm wondering if there's more to the idea of movies and projected images than we're really actually aware of. I look at some things that I've noticed, like in the Back to the Future movies, they're always throwing shit in our face. You know, it's like right in your face, like the speed that they had to go, 88. That's not by accident. That's time and space. And every time that thing, it seems like that thing traveled into time, it had something to do with film. And the first instance, like when he was running from the Libyans, right? He almost smashes, or he goes into time right before he almost hits the photomat booth. When he goes back to 1985, when the lightning strikes, he goes into time just narrowly not smashing into a movie theater. When he goes back into the Old West, there's that thing. Now I'm tying this in with some more stuff with Tom Hanks, because there seems to be like this Tom Hanks thing.
Oh yeah, dude, he's involved in more Mandela effects than anybody.
Well,
ever.
Look at what for instance, with the Forrest Gump movie, which of course that's another one that's been affected. That what they did was they took that character and they placed him realistically into actual historic events. And I wonder if there's something to that, because he really does seem to be one of the more affected things.
Oh yeah,
you know.
And before you go on with Tom Hanks, I want to address one thing about Back to the Future. Okay, so in Back to the Future, and we're talking about the Mandela effect, and here's something a lot of people miss. So in Back to the Future, go ahead, give me a screen share.
Oh yeah, I was like, who's that come down there?
This isn't the best image, but you can go check your own movie and you can bring it up again. The flux capacitor, what makes time travel possible.
Oh yeah.
Back to the Future. Okay, so we have the stem, like it's like a Y, right? We have the 2 coming down to the 1. Well, that's backwards, because it used to be the 1 coming down to the 2. And look at this residue right in this scene.
Yep.
Doc Brown is holding the paper. This is the way the flux capacitor used to be in the car, but the flux capacitor in the car is now Mandela affected, and it's upside down. It's inverted, the thing that makes time travel possible. Look, it's opposite of this now. And you can't say this is upside down because it's a diagram, because look at the text that's on it. Clearly, this is the right side up. It used to be 1 stem down to the 2 in the car, but now it's opposite. And I've shown a bunch of residue for this in my Back to the Future video. So I just wanted to note that, but we can get back to Tom Hanks too, because it's so much. He played Mr. Rogers in the Mr. Rogers movie, which, by the way, the Mr. Rogers movie, they named It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood after the old song, but he comes through the door and says this in the old song. And not only that, did you know that there was a mysterious death on the set of the filming of the Mr. Rogers movie with Tom Hanks?
No, I did not.
Oh, and you know, I'll tell you about it. So somebody happened to go out to smoke a cigarette on a balcony and mysteriously fell to their death. And you know who it was? Well, it was the sound engineer. Well, who would be the first person to pick up on the audible change in the intro
Oh,
song?
no shit. And what did he do? He fell? He fell from a...
Supposedly he went to smoke a cigarette out on the balcony and he mysteriously fell to his death.
Oh, bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah, Tom Hanks is involved in more than anybody.
Well, there's something to this in this dark magic, and I'm not trying to get off the subject or anything, but in this dark magic, which unfortunately involves, I believe, some bloody shit, there are these red shoes involved, and I'm sure you've heard about these red shoes.
Yeah.
In one of Tom Hanks's early movies, and I believe it was his third movie.
Man with one red shoe.
A man with one red shoe. Did that signify somebody who was halfway there? What was up with that? Because then I saw him get a meteoric rise to fame. You know, and then especially with here's the thing, it gets me, and for some reason this sticks with me, is this idea of he's really done a lot of shit that shows historic events where he is immersed within that historic event, whether it be Private Ryan or Mr. Rogers or the stuff that he was involved with in Forrest Gump. You know, there is some kind of a key to this guy. I don't understand exactly what it is, but I do believe on an esoteric level, he's more than just an actor. Of course, I believe all actors are basically magicians. Okay?
One of
And
the
I don't
biggest
mean like
Mandela effects is the Apollo 13 flip flop. He's also part of. And I want to address the thing in the chat. Jonathan Montero writes, hopefully Brian sees this. I'm sure he already has. And I have, but I want to talk about it. But straight from Wikipedia, Hyannisport is a small residential village located in Boston, Massachusetts. And you see how they did that, though? So Hyannisport, it was never two words. It's always been one. Why do they have in parentheses Hyannisport, one word? It is not. There is no or Hyannisport. The reason they have it like that is the same reason you'll see something spelled the New Reality way, and they'll say, but often commonly called this. That's what always happens with these. But you'll go now and you'll see there is no or Hyannisport, one word, because any official documentation you go and look at now, including old maps, it's all going to be two words. So the reason that's in quotes is because so many people remember it that way. See it all the time like that. It's wild. So how about I just want to take a screen share and show people what my channel looks like and my playlists, and then we'll get into the historical and then the Bible stuff. How's that sound? You're on mute.
Yeah, that sounds good. I was muted. Oh, that sounds good because that Black Tom thing's got me screwed up.
Yeah.
I think I know the one. I think I know the one you're going to try to blow me away with because I have I recently come on to find it, and I think it was through yours.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. But after I show my channel here, if we could take 5 minutes, I could just smoke real quick. Okay, so this is my main channel. If you come here, if you want to hear me talk about 9/11 or COVID, you're not going to find it here. You have to go to my Odyssey. But all my other playlists are here. So if you come here, Dose of Reality Show has all my videos, most of the newest stuff's at the top. But Mandela Effect shortlist, and I don't want to scroll through all of it because there's still some I haven't brought up to you yet. But I have over 120 videos on this list. Each video is about one change, and I break it down. I describe it. I show the evidence and all that. But down here, and I do have a playlist just Bible changes, which we'll get to soon. But down here, Centerville Effect. This is the stuff to do with my neighborhood. So if that interests you, and then not very long videos, a couple of them are, but just start at the beginning and just go through. And I think that'll really blow your mind, that personal change. And of course, I got videos burying all these shills of science, one per video. Brian Cox, Alex Jones, Neil deGrasse, Joe Rogan, Elon Musk, all these people. When I went to California to fight COVID in its face, and I took 15 flights in a row with no mask and all of that, that's all here. When I went to go visit Steffi, of course, they've deleted a lot of these videos, but check out these playlists. And we can get back to it. But how about Can I step aside for 5 minutes and then we'll get
Yeah,
into
absolutely.
historical Mandela effects and Bible Mandela effects, and then we can get into maybe some theories and whatever, and then we'll start to head out.
Sounds like a winner, Brian. Go ahead, have a cigarette and do what you got to do. I'll
All right.
keep
Yeah.
myself entertained here with the chat. We'll see kind of
No cigarette. No cigarette. I don't smoke cigarettes, but I'm going to hit the bowl in the bathroom.
Oh, I got you. See, I just go ahead and hit mine right here, you know.
Yeah, I can't do that, but I'll be right back.
I got you. Oh, let's see. So there's Austin Murphy. Haven't seen you around in a while. And Nick Bolt's with us. He's fallen in here with us. Let's see. What is he? 2020. Brian is Emmy King, hands down. Yes, he's got. I'm really quite honored to have him on my channel. I really am, because he's really got. I've delved into some of the Mandela effect stuff, and of course the 9/11, and those of you that have. But he really he really puts a new light on that stuff. I mean, I'm really kind of blown away, you know. And if you look at it from that same standpoint, is like I've said before, if you haven't seen the movie Wag the Dog, by all means, please go see it. It is fantastic. I might have a link to it that I can give everybody. You can watch it free online. But just to give you an idea how well they can actually, through media and propaganda, actually make it appear as though something is taking place that actually isn't taking place. Many of you that don't know the movie Wag the Dog, it's got a great cast. And what they do is they have to obfuscate away from a scandal involving a president just till after the election's over, or it'll kill his reelection. So they make it look through media and propaganda and all kinds of a whole production as though we are at war with Albania. And this is just to blitz the media and the public away from this current scandal. And then you just got to see it. So they can pull this kind of crap, and they have. And I think Brian points out really quite well how, you know, I mean, this has taken me even to a new level, because like I said, I was focused on the towers and the who and the why and everything else like that in 9/11. And then something like as simple as look at these hospital scenes seem to, you know, go by unnoticed. And we see that, you know, the way I looked at the last 3 years, I didn't really look at some of the things from that day in September the same way. But you really come down to it, you can obviously see that so much of this is scripted. I mean, Christ almighty, they use the same shit over and over. I mean, first in 1947, supposedly a UFO crashes on Matt Braswell's ranch near Roswell, New Mexico. It's taken by the Army Air Corps. And the next day they say, oh, it was a weather balloon. This time we have some kind of a weird Chinese spy balloon flies over. And then next thing you know, we got UFOs, and people saying, were they balloons or UFOs? There's all this. They just run the same shit over and over and over and over and over again. Who else we got? Ann Gaynor. Ann Gaynor is here with us tonight. What she say? Many people would like to crown Brian as a result of being so outspoken and knowledgeable. Well, as long as crowning is in the traditional sense and not in the slang term for being somebody, I think that would be pretty cool. I have to say he's got a wealth of information. Welcome back, Brian.
Yo, man. What's happening?
Hope everything went well.
Yeah. So my biggest Mandela effect. Let's start there. And we'll definitely get into theories, guys, soon. I know you guys want to hear it, but we definitely got to cover some historical events and some Bible changes before we even try to get into theories. So the biggest Mandela effect for me, my number one, when people ask me, is Black Tom.
Yeah.
So anytime you ask anybody, they know Black Tom. Usually they say something like, "Who the hell is he?" You know what I mean? Like, who the hell is Black Tom? So Black Tom is not a person. Black Tom is a new event in this timeline. So Dave, you spent, and you're already aware of this, so I'm just gonna lay the conversation out a little different. But I mean, you spent time in 9/11 like me. You've probably heard the same things, and and that being that the first major foreign attack on U.S. soil was Pearl Harbor, and then there was 9/11. Now in this reality, there's a historical insert, and there's many. This one's gigantic, but there's been many since that are tied to it. And now in this reality, or whatever you want to call it, in 1916, so over 100 years ago, 2 German spies snuck in through New Jersey into New York Harbor, blew off what they're saying now is 1 million pounds of TNT. The story keeps changing. Million. By the way, these backstories that support these Mandela effects change. Like the Ed McMahon thing has changed several times. We go back to that after. But now, in this reality, these 2 German spies in 1916 snuck into New York Harbor, blew off 1 million pounds of TNT, which is said to be the largest non-nuclear explosion in the history of the world. Okay, in New York Harbor. It killed 5 people, injured 120, blew out all the windows in Lower Manhattan. It was felt in Philadelphia. And also, it damaged the Statue of Liberty so bad that nobody's ever been to the torch. Now, here's the problem. There's a lot of problems. The first problem is you can't sweep something like this under the rug, which is what deniers will try and say. Like, we're talking about the largest explosion in the history of the world. And we're talking about New York. Okay. Now think about
that and it preceded what I always learned was what got the United States involved in the war in Europe was the sinking of the Lusitania.
Yeah.
That is always what, because there were Americans on board, and then that, you know, has now touched us. It was their 9/11 to get into that. And that's what I've always heard. The date of this, I checked, the date of this Black Tom is prior to the Lusitania, which was the event that I was always told why we entered World War I. And now this one precursored that. I mean, it totally blows the whole timeline away from me. You know, I mean, this is not.
On top of this, like, again, not only were we not taught this in school or taught this when we looked at 9/11 and all that, but the idea that it was the Statue of Liberty, which is, you know, the symbol of freedom in America, right? And they wouldn't shove that down your throat no matter what aspect of angle you look at 9/11 from, whether it's the mainstream, the truth movement, whatever, you would hear about that. Again, this is one of those ones where you lock 100 people in a grocery store and you ask them about Black Tom. Damn near 100 of the 100, they're not going to have a clue. Probably 100. Not going to have a clue what the fuck you're talking about. I just always leave it open. I don't think anybody's going to say magic mirror or know what Black Tom is, honestly, if you ask them. But I have to say, you know, they could be, you know, that's what it's always been in this reality. But here's the thing. So say you want to be crazy and say, well, Brian, you know, maybe we just never heard about it. You know, fucking 1 million pounds of TNT in New York City blowing. Maybe you just never heard about it. Here's the crazier Mandela effect part of it all that we know. Like, I have personally spoken to people that have been to the torch of the Statue of Liberty. And now it is impossible in this reality to have anybody have been to the torch because the explosion shut it down forever. It's never been open since 1916. And there's other Mandela effects to do with the statue. We don't even need to go there yet. But that is Black Tom. The biggest explosion in the history of the world now happened in New York Harbor and damaged the Statue of Liberty so bad that it negates the experience of all these people that have been to the torch.
Yeah, see, I know my grandparents were up in the torch. They'd gone up in the torch. They took pictures in the torch. I wouldn't be able to tell you where those pictures ended up today, you know, but I remember looking at those when I was a kid. My grandmother telling me about the stairs that you had to take to go up into that part, you know, and it was narrow and shit. And no, that was open. So, and she wasn't even born till 1916. So I know that as a married adult, she went up in it. That was in the 30s. So that's crap.
Yeah. So now this is where the Mandela effect gets a little deeper, because now we'd already talked land masses and we talked these other changes. Now we're talking historical inserts, but you're going to start to see a big German influence on the Mandela effect for whatever reason. So before we get into the next historical change, let's just backtrack to some other ones real quick that are German that we haven't got to that are huge. If I asked everybody in the chat, what the most famous brand of avocado was. I'll even give you a hint. It starts with an H. Okay. Type in the chat where you always remember that avocado to be. Okay. Because that's a huge one. Okay. And that's a German change. Now,
Yeah,
my
because
reality,
it's a German family. It's a German
it's a
family.
it's a German family. And in my reality, it was always Haas avocados, Haas. Now in this reality, it's Haas, Hass, which, by the way, in the German language, that word means hate. And the guy Rudolf Haas, basically his last name now, means hate. And you want to talk about residue? How about this?
Oh no.
Oh,
this is what I love.
No, I have something that's one of the craziest pieces of anything you've ever seen in this reality. So in this reality, it's never been Haas avocados. So we can go to, you can find residue everywhere. You can even imagine like every recipe site, everywhere, right? HAAS. That's what people remember. It's always been
Right.
HAS now. Okay. So I'm looking around and I come to find that first off, we know that I'll tell you right now, Walmart still has it in their POS system. So if you go to Walmart to buy avocados and they have the Haas avocados, the stickers that are on the avocados are going to say Haas, HASS. Okay. If the display is anything that got printed up or anything like that, it's going to have the new spelling, HASS. When you go to Walmart and buy one, though, their POS system will still print you a receipt that says Haas, HAAS. It hasn't updated yet to match the reality.
Wow.
And I'm gonna even one up that story right now.
So do you think these things are like progressively changing? Like it's not something that has happened, but is still happening?
A lot of them, as far as when the official different aspects of like the computer archives and Google, that stuff takes longer to update than the actual change takes. It seems it takes a minute to catch up and try to cover up for the reality shift. And I'm going to give you a few good examples, right? Like, so another great example. Oh, I'll stick on Haas. I'll talk about hey, Brian, show me the thing with the phone after, and I will. Okay. So now speaking of Haas, right? So I'm looking online and I'm looking at a site for Kroger's, right? And I see that Kroger's has an image of a bag of frozen Haas avocados, right? But it says HAAS, the old way on it. But you got to remember, now you've been around the Mandela effect a little bit. Like for people that don't know, when something's a Mandela effect, the photos change with it. So if you have a photo, if I had a photo of a Berenstain Bears book before it changed, it doesn't matter. My photo is going to show Berenstain. It's going to show the current reality. Photos and videos shift with the Mandela effect. So that kind of blew me away that I could even see this on the screen, right? It wasn't just a drawing. It was the photo of a bag of Haas frozen avocados spelled the old way. So I tried to order it, right? And it wouldn't let me order it. It was like acting really weird. Like it couldn't deliver to my address. So then I tried my friend's address on the other side of the country. It couldn't deliver to that address. Then I tried again and it said, this product does not exist. And it redirected me to the page with the exact same bag, but the new spelling on it, right?
Holy sheep
So,
shit.
Oh, it gets better than this. So I made a video about this, right? So two people went to Kroger's for me to try and find the product, right? One on each side of the country. And I got two pictures sent to me, but one person came back with this unchanged original residue. For
Oh,
whatever reason, this bag is still spelled the way that's never existed in this reality. And they say we have no evidence. This is like hardcore, unchanged originals.
no
This
doubt.
shouldn't exist at all. This package shouldn't exist at all. And if you go there now to buy this package, you'll probably see it spelled with the two S's.
No
We're
doubt.
told that this has never existed in reality, and we're crazy and we have no evidence. Clearly, we have tons of evidence.
What do you think about that out there, Nick Volt? You've been kind of quiet. Did you leave us? Nick Volt is, I don't know if you're familiar with Nick Volt or not. He comes in and out. He's a physics professor at a university in California. So he's hardcore
Globy and all of it.
against everything that I he's like my nemesis. No. He's all right. He's all right. But yeah, I don't know. That's why I'm asking him what he thinks about this shit. And like the guy that from the Messianic Bible study.
How much can you deny? Like, I could show you days worth of evidence that it was Haas avocados, and inside you probably know it was Haas avocados. Like, again, you're not going to agree with every Mandela effect I present, but ones that you know either way, you're going to agree with 9 out of 10 of them inside. Be honest with yourself. Do you know it was Haas avocados? Then it's time to investigate this, because now, even if you go back and look at the lineage of Rudolf Haas's family, it's the Haas family, Hass. It changed the whole family name, dude, all the way back into the past.
See, that's what's not. That's I don't know, man. It can't. It'd be one thing if it was one or two little things, and like you said, there's a certain patterns involved. There seems to be a heavy duty German connection to this. And I don't know. Do you think it has anything to do with how they were messing with, electromagnetic fields and things with that bell, that what they call it, Der Glocke? And
tell me more about it, because it's definitely want to hear some more theories related to this, because we haven't even got into some of the other ones. There's so many more German attacks. Volkswagen, there's 2 changes there. That's German. That's huge. That's a top 10 Mandela effect for me.
Well, see, that's the thing. I mean, and I have to wonder how much validity is there with some of this information, because of how effective everything is. But supposedly the Germans were messing around with this thing called a Der Glocke, which was you might have heard it referred to as the Nazi bell. And this thing was supposedly generating some kind of an electromagnetic field and I guess basically messing around with time travel. And there's a lot of people that have related this to what's known as the Kecksburg incident, to where I forget what year, but it was much further after the Second World War, where in Kecksburg, Pennsylvania, there was this acorn UFO that was found. That pretty much it kind of matched the description of this Nazi bell. I don't know, but I can only wonder what is this German connection with all of this, and what some of the stuff that the people, supposedly these scientists, were screwing with anyways. They brought them. Another thing that I find interesting is with the Tesla and his theories on time travel in his papers and effects that were confiscated and then given to Professor John Trump for study. And, I have to wonder, because then I was watching that during the whole Trump thing. I know it's all dog and pony show, but there's a level of realness within there. I mean, their little struggle against one another, it's just like in any other type of a business. There's nemesises and things like that. But he seemed like he was like one step ahead of everything that they were trying to pull there for a while. And I had to wonder, with that and these Ingersoll Lockwood books from the 1800s, Baron Trump's Adventure Through Time. Do you know anything about that?
I've heard about it vaguely, briefly a little bit,
It's rather intriguing. I mean, if it's not just something that's placed there, it is really kind of intriguing. It's
yeah. And I can't rule time travel out or tell people exactly how that would work. But for me, there's so much with the Mandela effect that time travel definitely can't be the cause of it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I wonder, because if there's any changes like that through like what we would know as a paradox, your mere presence into another timeline, like especially if you were to go back into the past, I'm of the belief that your mere presence there could cause a rippling, what they call a butterfly effect, and cause complete absolute change to your timeline. But these,
that's the thing. So we have the opposite of that. We have all this residue that's here,
right?
And we also have everybody's memories from this reality, like so.
And it seems to be selective. It seems to be, selective things, and that's what I'm looking for is like a pattern within these select, like this German connection. That's one, and maybe there's patterns within patterns, but these various selected things that have changed, and like even in the Bible, like we're going to get into here in a minute, I guess, about that, is that it looks like there's certain things they want to change, and other things they're just leaving alone. It's very selective.
Yeah.
And I have to wonder, what's the purpose of changing the things that have changed? And I hate to use the term they, but for lack of a better term, whatever it's, whether it's a malevolent entity, a benevolent entity, something supernatural, I don't know, but there seems to be intelligence behind it. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, I think it gets real deep with the intelligence behind it. In fact, why don't we let's hold off on the theories a little bit, because we have to talk about these Bible changes first, because it really lays the groundwork for some of the theories for me. So why don't you tell me when you first realized that the Bible had actually changed in this manner, and what change was it? What year was it?
It was just within the last couple of years. I'd run across something. I'd heard something. I wasn't aware of so many of the Bible changes that I was. Brand name changes, and like the Volkswagen thing, the Cheez-It, that type of thing. And then I started getting more into, within the last couple of years. This is a strange thing about me, Brian, is I was never brought up in really a religious home of any kind. Spent very little time at church. However, it's remarkable the amount of scripture that I just kind of already know. I mean, it was just like I've always, I don't know, it just stuck with me, various things. And for instance, the one that got me the worst was the first one that I was exposed to, is in Isaiah, of the lion and the lamb.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, bullshit. Now I know that that's lion and lamb. I remember in my little storybook, I had Bible stories. Everybody had that, right? And they had the beautiful, most wonderful pictures to accompany the stories. And there it would show the lion and the lamb. And I was like, that's really something else. That lion would normally eat that little lamb. As a kid, you see the artwork, the statues, various references to it. And then I go and I look for myself, and I'm like, okay, well, maybe this one, they started printing it that way later. But then I go back and I've got a replica of a 1611 King James Bible, the Old English and everything. And there it is in there too.
Yep, every translation. So there are Bible changes. Again, there are Bible changes that are specific, especially when it comes to the KJV. There are translation specific ones. But when I talk about these Bible changes on my channel, I am very specific about them. And the lion and the lamb, that's a universal change. So it doesn't matter what Bible you have, whether it's KJV, NIV. I talked to some Jehovah's on the street the other day with the New World Translation. It doesn't matter. Okay. None of them say the lion will lay or laid with or will live with the lamb. None of them say that now. In fact, they all say the wolf. Now that's quite a message, if you ask me. That's like a warning. But again, I'm gonna hold off too much on the theories a little bit. But again, if you remember the lion and the lamb in Isaiah 11:6, it's now the wolf in every version of the Bible. Every version, and this isn't the only change. There's many of these changes. My favorite one to talk about is Matthew 18:20.
Oh yeah.
So everybody out there in the chat, I want you to finish the sentence that I'm going to start of what you always remember. Matthew 18:20 started with, when two or, and this is a huge one for me, because, and I'll give it a little preface before I answer people. This change happened not too long before the Rona rolled out. Okay. And it directly ties with it. So I remember, many people around the world, nearly everybody I've ever asked, that includes pastors, preachers on the street, truthers in the truth movement, religious people. Matthew 18:20, where two or more are gathered in my name, there I will be in the midst. Or other variations very close of, where two or more are gathered, there I am. Where two or more are gathered, there I am, or there I will be. All these things, where two or more are gathered.
Yeah,
well,
there it is.
Shortly before the Rona rolled out, that changed to where two or three are gathered. So where 2 or 3 are gathered, the presence of God will be there. What if there's 4? What if there's 100? The presence won't be there. That sounds like a limited gathering. And then what
Yes.
happened later is they started limiting gatherings. Where? Well, particularly, most notably, churches at first. Seems like a clear warning of what was to come.
Yep. Absolutely. It's there's yeah. I mean, I just looked in this one here too. I don't know. I got my green screen. You can't really see it. It's going to show the moon. But yeah, it's in this one too. And I've already checked it in my 1611 replica. And now where I didn't find changes, that you see these ones that are written like in modern day English, you don't see any changes in that, of course, because what people don't understand is that the wording, and especially the English language, was basically invented for the 1611 King James Bible. The spellings, everything. And there's hints in that calligraphy that's written. The picturesque representation of the first letters of certain words. Like, for instance, in Genesis, those letters tell the story of creation within themselves in each verse. It's really quite telling. So you get a lot, you lose a lot. And I think that people misinterpret the importance of the spelling and the grammar that's used within the Bible, because that was written that way specifically for a reason. And when you go screwing around with it, then you got something different. And that's what I'm noticing in this, these changes that are taking place in Scripture, because it's almost like that one in Exodus, if you want to go into that one, where it says, "Thou shalt have no other gods before me, for God's name is jealous, and he is a jealous God."
Yeah.
What is that telling us? I mean, it's obviously that's a specific word that's been changed. And it's almost like, I got another theory on it. We'll get into it a little bit later on that.
Also, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff in there. I mean, planets was definitely not in the Bible. This was the base of many flat Earth versus globe discussions in the Christian communities years ago. And planets is sitting right there now in the KJV in Kings 2:23-5, where it used to say, or at least in the others, it says constellations or wandering stars. I'm not sure if the KJV said which one of the two the KJV said, but now it says planets. And a universal one that people definitely know is the Lord's Prayer, which, by the way, it has KJV specific changes, but it also has the universal change. Forgive us our trespasses and those who trespass against us. It's not in any of your Bibles, any version. They're all changed. But the KJV, especially, which people are most familiar with, "Our Father who art in heaven," now says "which art in heaven," and where it used to say "on earth," it now says "in earth." Again, those two, KJV. But the trespass and trespasses, universal, gone from all versions.
That trespasses, which verse is that, real quick? That's Matthew.
It's
hang on.
6:9. I'm not sure, man. I forget. That's one I
wrote it down. Oh yeah, 6:9. 6:9. Okay. So it's 9 through 13. 6:9 through 13. Okay, so what I found though was in 14 was interesting, because
the words there, right?
Yeah, because it says, "And forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors, and lead us not into temptation, and deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen." Then 14 says, "For ye forgiveth men their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you."
Yeah.
So there it's used right after the prayer where we know that for a fact said, "Forgive us our trespasses."
Yeah, we also weren't mixing it up. We also know it said it twice, once in the form of trespass, once in trespasses in the same line. Like, we're not confusing it with the later line. The later line is there because it's referencing the other two times it was mentioned above it.
Right. Yeah, that's
a lot of times.
And why forgive us our debts? There again, Brian. I'm sorry, we keep doing that. But
no, keep going.
It's mirroring what's going on with this forgiveness of debts, with with what do we just have happen here today? With
Yeah, and the word banks
with,
is in there. There's
yeah,
all sorts of words in there now related to this type of financial stuff.
they went in there and bailed out that bank today. That
Yeah.
what was it? That Silicon Valley Bank, SVB. Yeah, so I'm seeing a lot of that. What was the other one? Is Luke 17:34 and 35 talking about women grinding?
Yeah, two women grinding it. Yeah.
I think because
It used to be grinding at the mill, is what many people remember it being, grinding at the mill, and now it's just two women grinding.
yeah.
Yeah.
And here's Luke 2:46, where it talks about after 3 days he returned to the temple, and they were amazed that he was talking to the doctors and
Yeah.
answering their questions. And it used to be teachers and rabbis.
Yeah.
And so there again, with this, I don't know, what do you want to call it? A medical takeover that they seem to be going under right now. Yeah, I've got a whole thing of them, but yeah.
Another Mandela effect related to the medical takeover. Right around the same time as Matthew 18:20 changed, the HIPAA Act in the United States changed. The HIPAA Act is supposed to protect your health privacy information, and the HIPAA Act was HIPPA, and now it's HIPAA, and the P that disappeared from the acronym was literally the P that stood for the word privacy. So in other words, privacy disappeared from the Privacy Act, and you lost your health privacy months later when they started limiting those gatherings that they warned you about in the Bible.
Listen, now here's a weird one within my own household on that HIPAA Act, okay? So my wife used to work for the health department here in our county, and she swears up and down that it's always been the way that it is now. But I clearly remember it, the HIPPA.
Yeah.
Because
I have lots of residue from it. By the way, I have lots of good residue from various doctors' offices and their headers on this stuff when it's not the official HIPAA logo like thing, and they're doing it on their own, and they're writing like their HIPAA guidelines that they follow like within their office and whatever. Even my own local doctor's office several months ago, I got paperwork from there, and other people have sent me theirs. People have sent me hard files that they had saved on their computer before the change that are still spelled the old way that in which it used to be.
See,
yeah, bank, yeah, website, yeah, bank, universities, mufflers, matrix.
Yes, unicorns.
Yeah.
I don't know. So what the hell? What I mean,
all right, so let's get into some ideas, right? So there's a lot of ways to look at the Mandela effect, right? Like what's causing it. So let's get into it, right? Because we're at 3.5 hours now. So so when you first start to look at it, and the first thing they want you to think is that it's bad memory, okay?
Right.
And that it's a psyop, and companies and logos change names, and you're just not keeping track of it, right? First off, by the way, companies and logos and brands, they do change names all the time. We're not fucking stupid. We know that happens. What we're saying is, okay, if that's the mistake we're making, then just go fucking look it up and come back and show me. Like, seriously, you can look up a logo or a brand change within the company easily. Try Logopedia, okay? We're not stupid. Okay, so what's causing it? So if you do realize there's a real change and you're not buying it's just a media psyop idea, and you know that this changes in this reality, you're like, fuck no, whatever. I know Ed McMahon worked for Publishers Clearinghouse. You're not going to tell me otherwise. The first thing they do is they nudge you towards CERN. They want you to believe it's CERN. Okay. And for me, Dave, and there's a lot of people that get pretty upset with me for not giving it more credibility. I don't see CERN any more credible than the ISS that was in your background when we started the show. Okay. I don't buy their science. I don't believe that they're finding the God particle and all this shit they say they're doing. I don't think it's doing anything legitimate at all. And I think the idea that they are in control of our reality with a machine like that is preposterous to me, especially with some of the personal Mandela effects. Some of the way we didn't even talk about the updates that people take. We have to talk about this first. I totally believe that we're all being observed by multiple consciousnesses, if you will, a dark side and a light side. And the people that are really susceptible to it for many reasons they take these almost possessions when they take these Mandela effect updates at times. So I think there's a lot of that going on as well. So I don't think it's CERN. I don't think it's time travel. Let's talk about that.
Mm.
And we'll talk about them all. Timelines, old Earth, new Earth. So timelines. Notice I'm going through the ones I don't believe first.
Right,
So for the same reasons I don't believe that it's CERN, I don't believe that it's D-Wave or quantum computers either. I think it's all a bunch of malarkey, dude. I really do. Okay. I don't think that has anything to do with the Mandela effect. They would love us to believe that they're doing it with their science, though. It's supernatural. They want to gatekeep it. Okay. So time travel. I am not against the idea of time travel, but there's a lot of problems when it comes to the Mandela effect. Now, can I tell you how time travel works? Absolutely not. And could time travel be happening and the Mandela effect be happening, but for other reasons? Yeah, sure. But for me, if there was a time travel, well, why is all the residue of what used to be sitting here? And if it's time travel that caused the Mandela effect, why don't all the Mandela effects happen at once? There's just a whole bunch of things that don't work for the time travel for me. Basically, the residue is number one. That shouldn't be here at all. None of it.
Right, right.
Same thing for the multiple timelines idea. If the Mandela effect is caused because we came from one timeline to another. Now, I know a lot of people say we came from the Sagittarius, the Orion arm of the galaxy. That could have happened. But then on top of it, we have to be in a fluid reality right now.
Mm.
Because changes happen in front of us. Changes happen incrementally. We see flip-flops, right? So, and even though me and you might see 90% of the same changes, if it's ones we recognize, there's still going to be the one or two that we're on the opposite side of the fence on. Well, how does us coming from a different timeline and coming here and everything's different explain that? It doesn't.
Right.
So I don't say same thing for old Earth, new Earth idea for me. For me, some of those ideas, sure, they could be valid. But for me, ultimately, what's taking place is we're in one reality and it's fluid. Okay. And we'll get into what's causing it. But we're in one reality and it's fluid. For me, the multiverse and all that, that's more of their psyop shit, just like the ever expanding universe in space. Okay. To take us farther and farther away from ourselves. I think we're in one reality and it's fluid. So who's causing the changes? In my opinion, most likely, most of the changes are coming from the creator, not the bad guy. Okay, and I do think I leave open the possibility that some of it is caused by us and our consciousness as one. And maybe when we learn it more and harness it more, maybe we will cause more of the changes. But for now, I believe most are from the creator. But I believe that the other guy on the other side of the equation is constantly observing people's consciousness. And like the experience I had in the piano bar a few weeks ago, I don't know if you know about that, but they wait for the option. So that's when I believe that dark consciousness decides to jump into somebody and stop them from waking up to realizing the truths about this reality. So that's what I think is happening. Now, people will say, well, what about the Bible changes and blasphemous? Well, maybe it's God telling you to not idolize the Bible and the Bible isn't God. Maybe it's that. Now, there's other people that will say it's Satan and only Satan would change. And that's cool. And I could understand why you believe that. But for me, I haven't seen too many bad Mandela effects other than people that take offense to the Bible changes. What has really hurt anybody by the changes? Been a lot of songs that sound like shit now and punchlines taken away. Things look weird like the engines on the jets and stuff, but it still works. People aren't dying on the operation table from the organs being moved and the doctors performing things wrong. And I don't give Satan or the devil or whatever the credit for being able to rise people from the dead, which we've seen happen, to move the land masses of the earth. I think it's the creator that created this realm that's doing it, in my opinion. Why? Well, maybe to wake us up to so much more than this physical reality, which is completely laden with deception, And maybe the Mandela effect is a training ground for where we're going to go next spiritually. So that's kind of what I think about it, if you want to ask me any questions.
I kind of have to agree with you along those lines because as I've looked at it, like we've discussed, the time travel, you have the residue. So that's that's not it. There again, with time travel, of course, that's always fascinated the hell out of me. I love movies that are well done with time travel. There's a real good one from the 80s.
I love time travel movies. They're fucking cool, man.
Did you ever see one called Millennium? It's
No.
got Cheryl Ladd and Chris Christopherson in it. And it has to do with these people from the future coming back. They got a record of airliners that are crashed with no survivors. And so they beam themselves on board as the stewardesses, and they take everybody off of it and then put replica bodies on the plane. And then the plane inevitably crashes. And they're doing it because they need the gene pool in the future. But it's really crazy because the second time that Cheryl Ladd meets Chris Christopherson is actually her first time meeting him. But it's his second time meeting her, because she came back in an earlier time the second time. It's really crazy, but it really makes a lot of sense. So to get back, not to get off track onto that whole thing, so I look at it like that, and I'm looking at the various things that have changed in the Bible, and although they may not have, I think it is like it says, for those with eyes to see and ears to hear. But some of the things that have changed, for instance, one would even consider in Exodus where it's changed God's name to be jealous. And of course, we look at jealous as a negative attribute, to have jealousy, to covet. That's something that Satan does. And so I'm looking at it like, wait a minute, what do you mean God's name is jealous? And there's another area in there where it says the Lord God and his creator. And I'm like, wait a second, what are they telling us here? It does say that God gave dominion over the earth to Satan. He gave him dominion over the earth. And is that what that's letting us know? That we've actually been heeding and giving our energy to the Satan rather than to God? I don't know. These are some of the things, these are ideas that I explore with this. And like you say, I think it's the creator. I mean,
anybody that believes these other ideas, I want to make it very clear. Like, as passionate as I am, I don't know, and I love to hear other people's thoughts. I don't know, and I can only tell you why I rule other things out. There could be stuff I'm missing, and every show I do, I welcome people to call in. So I know some people get upset. I don't believe certain theories. You're always welcome to call in with your theory.
Well, I also look at it like this too. That all right. So everything we deem to be reality, and that which we interact with all the time with our meat suits, in all reality, we know that matter and everything is nothing more than energy slowed to a low vibration. It's all frequency, energy, and vibration. And through our senses, we interpret all of this through our sight, through our sound, through our touch, and everything into one little spot in our brain about this big, into a cohesive reality, much like how you and I are interacting with pictures and words and all kinds of cool shit right here. But outside of this decoding device that is in front of each one of us, it's nothing more than a bunch of ones and zeros flying through the ether, right? So it takes the decoding device to put that in. Now, if something changes in the reality, it can only be one of two things. Someone has changed the program or the electromagnetic signals that we're interpreting, or something has changed our interpretation of it. Something has either messed with the receiver or something has messed with the signal, because like you say, not everyone sees it. There are some people they swear up and down, like for instance, my wife, and I take her for the gospel with that she swears that HIPAA has been the new way the whole time. But I wonder, did she just get the download? Yeah. So yeah, there again, did they mess with the radio or did they mess with the station? That's what I can't. That's my, because it doesn't seem to be everybody's interpretation has been that way. A great many, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the other ones that gets brought up a lot, I can't believe I forgot to bring it up. They want to point you in the direction of is we live in a simulation. So when that word gets brought up, I think it needs a lot more clarification, first of all. Because a lot of times I get in these conversations with people, and then it ends up them telling me after, well, I mean, God's simulation. Well, for me, if it's God's simulation, it's God's creation. Like that's the same thing. When I'm talking simulation, and the picture that they're trying to paint you with simulation is like you're in a computer simulation. Okay,
Right.
I believe I am very special. I have a soul, and I'm not in a computer simulation. Now, if you want to tell me this Earth is full of fakery and simulated bullshit and actors and even things in the sky could be all simulated and holograms and projections and all, that's fine. I'm down with that. Like we can talk about that, but I'm not a simulation. In my opinion, they would love you to believe that. Again, that's to make you feel insignificant. And again, the high priests of science that lie to us about all the things from the globe to climate change to COVID and all the stuff that they're all on board with, lockstep with each other. They all try and tell you that you live in a simulation as well. And I certainly don't believe what they tell me about reality. Seems like another way to gatekeep the creation.
Well, on some of this, like we were saying, like I was saying, that you would maybe even consider to be, some would consider to be blasphemous changes. With the Adam and God painting at the Vatican, where God used to be above and reaching down to touch Adam, and now it puts God at least almost on an even keel with man. It seems like that's what they're trying to. Again, I keep using that term, but that's what it seems to be depicting. There's a lot of power and symbolism. Renee Bernays sent me this little bit of residue here from a coloring book showing that portion right there. It's kind of a residue type thing too. She wanted me to show that.
Yeah. It's nice. It's everywhere, dude. I mean,
it is. And I wonder what is it that they're trying. I keep using that term. It's almost.
Well, maybe it could be both. Maybe the bad guys can change some things, but I don't know. It seems like creator has control of it, and the bad guy has control of the people with their weak. They can infiltrate their weak consciousness, and they have control over the physical reality and all the deceptions. That's what it kind of seems like.
Well, more than recently, but even more so recently, I've had this impending feeling of like waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like something big is going to happen because things are accelerating, it seems, rather quickly. Just the level of bizarreness that is taking place in the world today. Yet I feel no fear from it. It's almost like I find it exciting. I don't know how else to put it. A lot of people would take these things as maybe a harbinger of doom, but I look at it, I often say the beginning is near.
Listen, like there's so many people that are like, oh, you talk about the Mandela effect too much. It's they're all the people that don't understand how deep this is, and they think it's a psyop or whatever. Like, dude, I talk about this so much, but obviously I'm very well versed in all these other huge topics, and I don't, not demeaning them at all. I mean, we spent so much time on them, but this is like the granddaddy of them all now. And on top of all that, this is the one that has brought so much positivity to me, other than the negativity, more than anything. And this one has brought me closer to realizing maybe what this place is on a larger scale. And this is the most exciting topic, and things keep changing. It keeps evolving. And I think this is a very profound thing that's happening right now. And I think it's the most phenomenal thing that's happened in the history of mankind. And if anybody wants to know, I do think that this always has been going on. I do think it's accelerated in years, and not just our awareness of it because of the internet and whatnot. And of course that helps in many ways, but I do think there are more changes in the last few years than there were, 100 years ago, surely, and even as of 10 years ago. But I think changes like this have always been happening in this reality. And maybe the creator has had to increase his workload with the changes to try and nudge people more and more to wake up. And for people to say, well, why is this dumb thing changing? Why that? Well, nephew of mine approached me, and Pikachu woke him up. And Nathan Sanders, who does shows with me a lot, as deep as we can get about the Mandela effect, he couldn't wake his sister up until she saw the spelling of Imodium ID had changed in her purse. So all these so-called little changes matter a lot, because everybody has certain things that they recognize, and when something hits them hard enough, There's a wake up call for everybody. We didn't get into all the other monuments. We didn't get into all the music changes, but this just changes in every category of life that you could imagine, you know?
Don't you love that look? The look I'm talking about is when it hits them. Okay. Mine was, of course, that I noticed in my own life was the Bragg organic apple cider. Because I've got one of my pet peeves is people putting an S on a brand that doesn't have it, like calling Walmart's. It's not Walmart's, it's Walmart, so that was one of my pet peeves. And then I ran across, this was probably about 5 or 6 years ago, and I saw somebody say something on a video about the Bragg apple cider, and I was like, oh bullshit, I just bought some. Anthony, you were with me. I went to my cupboard and I opened it up, and sure as hell it had changed. And I was like, that's weird. So I started discussing it with a friend of mine. I was living in California, and a good friend of mine lives in a ghost town of only about 25 or 30 people all together live in this entire ghost town. It's way out in Death Valley. And he's a Volkswagen fan. He's got Volkswagens. He's got a microbus, a Bug, and a Jetta. And I was up there, we were talking about it, and I says, man, the Volkswagen thing has even changed. He goes, what are you talking about? And so I showed him the separator line. And he goes, no way. He says, let's go out here. And we looked on his Jetta, and sure as hell, there was a separator line. And I says, I'll tell you what, let's go over here. We looked at his 68 microbus.
Yeah.
And he knew for a fact, there was no separator line there. And he looked, and now there was. And I said, this can only mean one of two things. Either this thing's real, or somebody snuck up here, found your house in the middle of Death Valley, and replaced your hubcaps with
the Mandella burglar. That's what I call it.
Yeah. I mean, there's only a number of possibilities, And so he was just like, but that look on his face when he looked at those hubcaps and he looked back up at me, it was just like there was this, and I love that look. When somebody finally gets it, I get that with people when I'm talking to them about flat Earth, and then I'll hit something with them, and they go, "Oh shit, never, oh," and then you see it just start to go, just like that. It's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, can we start to wind it down because I'm getting pretty.
Yeah. I mean, we've been going here for almost 4 hours. I think this is an appropriate time. I would love to do it again with more stuff and. Maybe even just get into just even in one topic. That 9/11, you hit me with some heavy duty shit tonight, Brian, that I knew you had a stance on it, and I was excited to hear about it. But now that you point out some things and I relate it to the recent events of the last 3 years, and I'm like, oh my God, it's just as much of a stage show as this was. Holy shit. And all it took was that what most would consider minutia. I mean, who's going to go back and look at an obscure report of a reporter reporting from a hospital? Everybody's focused on the buildings coming down. Everybody's focused on the people running down the street with dust on them. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. Really interesting. Really interesting. It's great. Well, I really want to thank you for coming on, Brian. I'm honored to have you here tonight. This is great.
Can you do me one favor? You forgot to put my channel link in the show notes. Can you do that after?
I will. I was thinking about that. In fact, I wrote it down here on my little pad of paper where I put the stuff I forget, and I will definitely do that. We've put it a number of times in the chat, but Dose of Reality, Brian S. Staveley. He's really got some good stuff. I haven't had time to watch that and keep up with everything, but I've watched a good number of his stuff. I really enjoyed your birthday thing you did.
Cool for Dave.
That was really cool, and to have David Weiss there too. I really like David. David Weiss, that man. I watched him the other day on a thing with this guy. It wouldn't show his face. He had a thing that said "Gravity is my God." I swear to God, I'm looking at it. I know exactly what's running through David's head as this guy's talking, and I'm sitting there thinking, God bless you, David. You have the patience of a freaking saint, because I would have blew it by now, man. I'm sure I would have.
So speaking of Globe Trolls, I'm supposed to go on McToon's channel tomorrow night to talk Mandela effect, if you know who McToon is.
Yes.
It's gonna be a tough. It's gonna be a tough crowd.
Well, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna check it out. I'm gonna definitely check it out. That's McToon, his own channel on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. I'll definitely check it out. Maybe I can counter some of the shit in the chat. We'll see what happens for it.
It's gonna get wild. I don't have the link yet. He was supposed to make it earlier today, but once I get it, I'll make a promo.
Yeah. I'll keep watching for McToon stuff to come up. And once you know what it is, I'm sure you're gonna promote as well too. So we'll get there. Everybody's gonna go over there and watch McToon tomorrow. If you had plans, cancel them. And go over and watch that. You should restream it so you can get the views, Brian. That's what
I can't. I can't because Karen has a show tomorrow night. We're in the same house, so or else I would stream it for all my people, so they don't have to hang out with all his people. That's what they do a lot with those shows, but I won't be able to do that tomorrow because it's a Tuesday night and Karen starts like an hour after me. So I'll just go. I'll just later. I'll just deal with it.
All right. We'll play it, see how it goes, man. Good luck with that. It sounds like a really good one. Well, I want to thank everybody for showing up tonight. And what's this? Somebody said that you're gonna rage quit with McToon.
Oh, that's just one of my regular trolls.
Is that one of your regular trolls? Yeah, I have a few of my own as well. And you just kind of like they're like gnats.
He actually likes penguin penis in his mouth.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
See,
good way to close like that. There's a story behind it, but we'll just leave it there.
It might tie in with mine. See, I was we were talking about one night about you can't go to Antarctica and why can't you go there and shit. And I got detailed about where a lot of shit about Antarctica, and then I just kind of went off the rails and I said it's because of the fucking penguins. They're the Illuminati. Do you think that it's coincidence that they dress, the elites dress in tuxedos to look like the fucking penguins and shit? I mean, I had this whole thing. All these people go to Antarctica. It's because they're getting their marching orders from the fucking penguins, right? So I'll shit you not, the next day, a thing comes across my news feed about Norway giving a knighthood to a fucking penguin. And it had video of this penguin with medals walking down reviewing troops, and these motherfuckers are saluting this penguin and shit. So I had to play it the next night. I was like, look, you thought I was full of shit. Look, you see this? And so it's just been kind of a running joke on my channel ever since then about the penguins. So it kind of ties in with this guy that likes the penguin penis. Maybe he can go down there and he can tell us what's down there in Antarctica, if he can. I just had a terrible thought about the tongue to the frozen flagpole, and I don't know. I'm gonna have to be signing out here. That's all.
I'd rather have a tongue to a frozen flagpole than a tongue to a penguin penis.
Poor guy's going, can't you have both? All right. Well, everybody, as I said, thanks a lot for coming. Everybody, awesome. Renee and Brian, it's been great. So, like we say, Lord loves a working man. Don't trust Whitey. See a doctor and get rid of it. No, take that back. Don't go to a doctor. They'll kill you. Good night, everybody.